up, my fellow Demogorgons? How are you guys tonight? Happy Friday to everybody. I'm really excited about this stream, if you can't tell. Thank you for everyone being there. What a killer opening, by the way, right? Thank you to Vex for making that for me. If you're new here, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. What we're going to be doing every Friday right now is doing a retro rewatch of Stranger Things. We're going to do all of the seasons leading up into the new season that will be. Further ado, I guess I'll bring on my panel if we can see them. There we go. Sketch, Toxic. Hello, guys. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Upside down. Welcome. I'm excited about this. I don't know about you. I'm a big I'm a big D&D nerd. I'm a big Stranger Things nerd. So.
Oh my god, you have no idea how giddy I've been the last month starting to rewatch these for the first time in years.
It holds up to season 1 so far. I'm going to take it 2 episodes a week as we're doing. So I don't want to I almost binged the rest of it, but I was like, "Oh, we'll take it 2 at a time." Toxic, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad I got here on time. I had to go watch a movie for Blue Collar so we can review it tomorrow, and I've just been same as you, just taking 2 at a time with the show.
What movie did? Not to derail the conversation.
No.
One movie.
It's fine. It's Den of Thieves 2. It's he does a fresh out of the theater low bar review thing.
Very cool. All right. I saw Den of Thieves 1 streaming recently. I haven't checked it out yet. I don't know if I'd like it, but okay. All right. Okay. Well, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. Jacob, I haven't seen season 3 or 4. Season 3 is very decisive. Like, it's very people either like it or not. I know Sketch is going to be our defender for it once we get to it.
We'll get to it when we get to it, but there will be conversations around season 3 and the much maligning that it's getting.
I think it gets more hate than it should, to be honest.
Thank you.
I like it. I like all the seasons, but I'm biased.
Same.
Yep, same here.
Vex voted no on the poll that I have. If you're excited for season 5, which is going to be the end all for the series, because she believes Stranger Things only had 1 good season and can't be bothered. Which good season? Vex?
Okay.
I would assume she means the first one.
The first one, yeah. I see Rio in there. Hello, evening. Big ship. Can't stay, but have an awesome stream, nerds. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's see. Anybody else? Anthony, hi Nadia. It's been a while since I watched the show, but the first few seasons were excellent. Yep. Yeah, each season kind of has a different tone to it. Agreed. I would say. Yep. Sketch is the man, apparently, from Loom Doom.
My boys.
Oh, thanks, Vex. Yes, I'm 190 watch hours away from being monetized. So nice. I will get there. And then there's my husband. Ahoy. All right, perfect. Okay, so episode 1. Let me pull up my thing. Give me a second here. So episode 1 is titled Vanishing of Will Byers. On his way home from a friend's house, young Will sees something terrifying. Nearby, a sinister secret lurks in the depth of a government lab. So let me pull up the episode and we'll get started. Oh, my manners, by the way. My heart goes out to Zax. Unfortunately, not here due to an issue. I don't want to make it awkwardly public, but we do. We're thinking about you, Zax, and we look forward to seeing you back next week. Hi, Sassy. Hello. I'm sorry if I missed you. Okay. All right. That being said, I'll pull up the episode. That was not that awkward, but it was awkward enough. And we're going to do this. All right, perfect. So it begins November 6th, 1983 in Hawkins, Indiana, which when I first watched this series, I thought there was an actual real Hawkins, Indiana.
It does have a ring of like a proper like name for a town from Indiana. You got to admit.
It does.
Let this get going. Oh, come on, Netflix. There we go. So it opens up in the lab area, which kind of, to me, is MK Ultra influenced. Put your conspiracy hats on. MK Ultra is like this government lab where they would do experiments on individuals. Supposedly, it doesn't exist anymore. By think it still does. So this is similar like influence to it. And this is where they're holding, which eventually we'll find out is 11, who in this opening is where she is escaping from it. And it's so interesting watching this, rewatching it, and seeing how young these kids are compared to nowadays.
No, seriously, like Finn Wolfhard was just played a role in Saturday Night as like the little the guy handing out like the pamphlets for the first show on Rockefeller. And just watching him there after seeing him here as like a little baby face I was like, oh my god, now you can see it.
Yeah, we watched him pretty much just grow up on screen.
Yeah, as far as like child actors go, they really found like the perfect set of like 4 people to trust these roles to.
Yes, yeah, I don't feel in a sense that they're honing it in almost. It almost feels like they are professional actors in a sense, right? And they're all very young, especially Millie Bob, who I guess hooked up with Drake and aged 30 years in one season. For real. Thanks. Lord, what is read this out.
When introducing the 4 boys, they are playing Dungeons and Dragons. This is an homage to E.T., the Extraterrestrial, 1982, in which the protagonists are introduced while playing Dungeons and Dragons.
There's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons homages.
There's a lot of homages as far as that goes. The Duffer Brothers really took a lot of inspiration from early 80s, Stephen King and, the Goosebumps type, thing, and it's really felt in these first couple episodes more than anything else, using child actors, and luckily they didn't take too many influences from Stephen King, but yeah, it's really felt
very much like the Losers Club. Hi, Rachel.
Not to mention just like the amount of perfect timing that went on with like this show helping bring like Dungeons and Dragons back into like the fold for like pop culture. It's like this and like Critical Role both hit like right at the same time like 5e was starting to come online. And like if you're Hasbro, like I don't think you could have asked for like a more like unplanned like marketing promotion tool for your game.
And it feels very 80s in this, not, how do I say this? Like, it doesn't feel honed in to be 80s. Like, it felt very lived in, like this is the 80s while this is being filmed at least for the first season. I know it kind of gets a little derailed a little bit and continue like with continuity throughout the rest of them, but it feels pretty 80s throughout it.
Nutty, are you saying phoned in or honed in?
Honed in. Phoned in?
I think it's honed in. I think the phrase I think you're trying to say phoned in.
Toxic. I don't speak English, so teach me.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that the term is phoned in. Honed in would actually be the opposite. Would be
okay.
But
phoned in, honed in. Either way, it feels very 80s. Kata, you have a link if you want to come on in. So just hop on in if you want to talk about Stranger Things. So we are introduced to the 4 boys in this. We're introduced to Will, who eventually disappears towards the end of this episode. Blah, blah, blah. Give me a second while I'm pulling up my notes. I'm so sorry. I should have been better prepared. Mike Wheeler, who's played by Wolfhard, Dustin, and then we're also Lucas. So we're introduced to the 4 boys as they're playing D&D. Which all, interestingly enough, have different arcs throughout the series as well.
Yes,
and we'll get to those as they come. So they're all playing D&D, and then it's almost foreshadowing with the Demogorgon creature that we eventually see later in the season. Because when they are placing the minis on the thing, if I can find the actual
the grid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me want to play tabletop so bad.
It's not the same if you're doing it virtually. Like you need to have when you have like an actual like mini or something, like it just feels a lot more special.
Yeah, mine are somewhere over there. My when they're screaming Fireball, it's funny because I was playing Baldur's Gate earlier today and I was using Fireball quite a bit in that game.
That's the That's the joke hat old school meme from the Crap Guide to D&D, just Fireball.
So much has happened since season 1. Pretty crazy. All the arcs of the characters have gone through since the beginning, except for poor Barb. Poor Barb.
R.I.P. Barb. Do you guys remember the big justice for Barb? Did you guys watch this in real time, or was it something you caught up with later?
You go first.
I watched season 1 after it fully had been released.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was in the same boat.
Yeah, there was this big thing going on in 2016. It was like hashtag justice for Barb, because they kind of, they do all this looking for Will, and then Barb was just kind of like forgotten. And then when this won a bunch of stuff at the next year's MTV Movie Awards, they had like the chick that played Barb like hanging out with the Demogorgon down like in the Upside Down, just chilling and stuff. So
I do remember hearing about it, at least at the time. I thought it was cool. But we'll get to Barb.
Yeah, and I like the fact that everybody thought she was coming back for season 2. Thought at some point, even after seeing her body, thought at some point she might be coming back. Similar to with season 4, and we'll get to it, where they think Eddie might be coming back for season 5. Who knows? Maybe. I don't think they expected Eddie to be such a beloved character down the line. There's also an interesting fact, because in the later seasons, it's discussed about how, I want to be very, because these are child actors and children, Will's sexuality, as he's coming out later in the series, and they kind of allude to it in here as well throughout the first episode. Yeah, they do. They called him something derogatory, or referred to him something derogatory.
That's true.
In a dialogue line in this episode. And then there's the flashback that he has with Jonathan in the second episode, or this one, where he's talking about like, hey, you don't have to do the stuff Dad wants you to do. You can be more interested in things you want to, which kind of alluding to be like more sensitive stuff, more non-masculine things, especially during the 80s. So, which is interesting.
They're also playing off of like 80s trailer park trash with their dad there.
Yes. His gay is the Stranger Thing. Actually, I was reading up on theories that the Demogorgon creature is actually mirrors 11, and it's her darkness, because at the same time she's the one that opens the gate, and it's in a sense like her darkness, her fear and stuff coming through. So it's a mirror image of her. Thought that was an interesting theory. So the boys are all playing D&D. They get all called up Will for dinner, so they all decide to go home. The three, they're all deciding. So at this point, the boys have decided to head out. And then I think, which was really interesting when rewatching this, how Will was able to handle a gun at his age. Just like,
I remember this is when I got me hooked, because I was like, oh, he's such a smart kid. Look at him. Even though he's very clearly scared, and he's very clearly, shaken up, and he does the normal stuff, trying to call for help and look for his brother, try to get a hold of mom, whatever. But he's like, okay, I'm all by myself, so let me go. Because that's like what a Midwest kid would do. They would go get the rifle, load it up, and they would like put their back to the wall. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, that would have worked just fine if it was a kidnapper, but we're dealing with the supernatural. So
before we go back to Will, I wanted to also point out something I read interesting on this. The scene where Dustin is asking Nancy if she wants sausage or pepperoni pizza is an allude to if she wants to lose her virginity or keep it, as in the sausage being Steve and the pepperoni being Barb. So I was like, that's a little far-fetched, but okay.
That's kind of far-fetched. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, okay.
Also, all right. Let's roll with it, I guess.
Dustin becoming best member of the core set of 4 right out the gate. I see. Okay. Just chalk another one up for the Dustin wins category.
The scene where the boys are pulling up to the edge of the woods at night with their bikes is a reference to the scene in the Goonies. Goonies are great. Anybody who doesn't like the Goonies, I can't trust you. I don't know.
I don't think that's American.
Yeah, it's not American at all.
I bet Vex doesn't like the Goonies.
Sounds like
she's Canadian though.
He's Canadian. Yeah, that's why.
Granted, my husband doesn't like them, but he saw them as an adult. He thinks that you have to see it as a child to have the nostalgia.
Oh, that was the thing I was going to tell you. So, like, this is 1983. The kids are like 10 or 11 or whatever. So very close to my age. So I was one of these kids, like hanging out in my friend's, basement and like playing D&D and, looking at comic books and things like that. So like, this was very, riding our bikes home at night, waiting to be kidnapped. This is very much how. So like right off the bat, I was like, oh, and yeah, you're right. It does get the 80s vibe correctly. We did dress like that. We did have those stupid watches and, things like that.
I will say, with Vex saying Goonies is the peak, I'm going to have to give Chris to Canada and just take Vex at this point. Wow. Did not see that one coming. Did not see that one coming at all.
I'll learn to check my biases now.
Yeah.
I know she's 2 for 2. She's doing Wind River tomorrow too, so that's one of my favorite movies.
What is Wind River? I'll ask later. I'll ask later. I will say the theory I had with how the Demogorgon is the mirror image of 11. Both of them have psychic abilities where they're able to like turn knobs, like in a sense in this scene where the Demogorgon like removes the lock off the door telepathically, so they both have telepathic abilities.
Well,
right.
At post season 4, there's actually was a lot of like theories and like almost like questions going around for the Duffers about like the relationship to a certain antagonist who shows up later, because there's a lot of stuff related to like the Demogorgons in particular that kind of gets phased out in later season. I feel like, and I think that them directly having psychokinetic powers was one of them.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask that. What's the rules on that? Like, because we've obviously, I think we've all seen all the way to the end of season 4. So are we stuff that lends itself to the beginning of season 1 that we find out later in season 4? Do we discuss it, or how do we tread that exactly?
We can. I don't want to focus too much on it because I mean we'll be here all night then, because in a sense we're going to be discussing the whole series each night. But if there's certain key points that kind of allude to the other seasons, I'm totally cool with going down that rabbit hole. I just don't want that to be the main focus, because again, we'll be here all night, every single night talking about the series in whole.
I wanted to just bring, because it's very cool, especially in these first two episodes in relation to the Demogorgon, just like some of the stuff that they decided to keep around for like mechanics in later episodes and seasons and stuff that they kind of may have like dropped early on. And I think the psychokinetic powers are definitely one of them for the Demogorgon.
Well, to me, and maybe my mind will change when rewatching each season, but to me, it's almost in a sense like a D&D campaign where you get a certain boss and you defeat that boss, but then you find out that boss is controlled by this boss, and then you go and you defeat that boss. So it's like leveling up into the big old baddie, eventually like leading to Vecna, who we don't know if is the final boss or who's after that.
We'll get to him eventually. There are even more theories.
Yeah, but even in season 3, there's and 1 and 2, there are things that they don't follow through with. Like season 3, they never followed through with like 11's other siblings in a sense that she found. Like that kind of.
Yeah, I think you mean.
Yeah,
I think you mean season 2.
Season 2, episode
season
6.
2. Yeah,
Don't worry, we're gonna hit that one too.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Boy. But I want to just hit one other thing here for this first episode, and it's just how much I love this like cold open with the lab and going to Will. Like, if you want a way to start like a horror thriller and make your monster seem like ominous, that hallway scene inside the lab is how you do it.
Yeah, so I'm watching X-Files for the first time as well, because I have that stream tomorrow, and I see a lot of influences into this as well, a little bit, especially with this first episode of how the story beats are told. It's similar almost to the pilot of X-Files. So I'm digging it. I'm not a Stranger Things hater. I love it. So Will is eventually, and we find out, stolen by the Demogorgon and is taken to what we eventually find out is to be the Upside Down. There's also a lot of lore to that they kind of fall off a little bit, and we'll get to it as we progress through this season. But he's stolen, and don't know why Will is chosen in a sense, right? We don't know if maybe he has psychic abilities. We don't know. Like eventually down the line, there's like alluding to some things happening, but he's just a normal kid that's get hunted down by a Demogorgon. Poor Will. I also like the fact that we open up with a, how do I say this? I feel like Hopper especially in the first season is taking a little bit more serious than the other seasons. Like I feel eventually he becomes almost like the butt of the joke. I think they circle it back in season 4, but in season 1, he's taken a lot more serious as like an alcoholic kind of cop, right?
Yeah. No, he's definitely taken way more as like a legitimate authority figure in this first season. Second season, he goes more into like almost like cop vigilante.
Yeah.
Third season is where he's probably at his weakest. Then fourth season, he kind of has like a little bit of a return to form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that there's clues and context clues of his life throughout this opener too, especially with the drawings of his daughter and such, and eventually find out what's going on. But he's just a sheriff of a small little Indiana town in the 80s. He's an alcoholic. He drinks himself to sleep every night, eats donuts. He's got a dad bod. For
Lives
sure.
in a van down by the river.
The scene is funny. With his pants open and his whitey tighties just hanging out.
He's got that Leonardo DiCaprio bod.
By the way, they're very selective in the cinematography in this episode, and the sound design is very well done as well.
And the editing is incredible. That's not something that can always be easily pulled off, and I think the editors do a great job. Especially in this first season, giving you an idea. And it looks, and like for those of us who grew up in the 80s, that looks like an 80s trailer. It looks like, it's got they got the beer cans right, and even though we see he's like this alcoholic schleb that sleeps on his couch for whatever reason, and he's kind of seen better days, as he pieces himself together for his duty day, you can kind of see he does take a lot of pride in what he does, the way he keeps, taking his badge off of the uniform so it doesn't create that hole on the thing, so that it's placed in there properly. Because if you leave your badge, the metal badge on the thing, it'll make like a weird indent. So he takes it off at the end of the night. So the whole process of putting on his chief's gear and getting ready for his day, even though he is kind of schlubby, like in dad body and all that stuff, he takes pride in what he is as the the chief magistrate or sheriff or whatever he is for the town.
Well, it's probably the only thing left in his life that he has control over.
Agreed.
After you find out what happens. And then we're introduced to Will's family. Jonathan, his oldest brother, who I've always thought always looks like a weird individual. I'm sorry.
He looks like a kid in the 80s. He looks
Does
80s.
he? Oh,
yes.
The Wheeler family. I don't know about them genetics. My friends, I don't know. I don't know.
A lot of these kids look the 80s, and they do a really good job. Their hair was just so terrible. People tucked in shirts when they shouldn't tuck in shirts, and everybody smoked, and everybody just looked kind of disheveled and didn't really care. So it was like, especially the early 80s, just it's like coming off of that, so this is a kid that would have grown up in the 70s, and now he's like a young man, and I like him. He's one of my favorite characters.
He has an interesting arc, especially as you proceed later into like season 3 and 4. But I will say, rewatching, he comes off as a big brother whose father had ran out, or parents divorce. I mean, I know I'm a kid of the 90s, but it feels the same way, where you have to take care of your siblings. I'm the oldest of 8 at the time when my parents split.
Holy
I had two younger siblings at the time. The others eventually came down the line, but I was the oldest. You had to take care of them, right? You had to make sure they were fed. You had to make sure they were out to school. I had to walk my sisters to school in the morning. Yep. So yes, I'm the oldest of 8, and there are 30 years between me and my youngest brother.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yes.
Not to
Yes.
not to mention like going hair and makeup on this, but just like the sets that they've got for this since the inside of like the Byers house, like it's also just extremely. It's like this is like 80s like standard of living. Okay, not like 21st century, like 80s with like a one parent household. Like
Mm-hmm.
the same kind of level that we're used to now is just not there, and I think they did a pretty good job capturing that. Just like how much like smaller people lived back then.
Also the fact that she is like a cash register at a like mom and pop pharmacy, so it's not like she's like a CEO girl boss at somewhere.
No.
Mom makes minimum wage, and the fact that this is they eventually in Hawkins, Indiana, I get it's a small town, probably can live off a minimum wage at the time, but yeah, that's to have a house like this. Now this house probably worth $2.4 million.
Yeah, even in the Midwest. Well, they were originally going to have called the show Montauk, and it was going to take place in Montauk because a lot of weird military science weirdo stuff was happening around there, and then they pivoted and they made up this small town Indiana thing. I think that was a much better choice that they did.
That's interesting. I like the idea of making up an illusion town to it, because again, I thought it was a real town when I first saw this. I was living in Indiana at the time. Hey Zach, stranger danger. I hope you and your family's doing okay. Sorry about your puppo, man. Made me hug my dogs a little tight today.
Doggo.
Yeah. All right. So Will has disappeared, and just like the 80s, parents don't know where the fuck their kids are. So kids could be like, hey mom, dad, I'm sleeping over at John, Sue's, whoever. I'm like, okay, as long as you're back by breakfast time, or as long as somebody sees you the next day, you're good. So they all were like, where's Will? Did Will come home? You don't even check to see if your kid's in his bed, kind of deal. So she starts calling, and this is another thing too. I don't think parents do this nowadays. Granted, I'm not a parent. There might be small communities, but I feel like people distance themselves so much from each other. Back then, like, you could call so-and-so's mom or someone else's to just check up on your kids and stuff, and it not be awkward.
Yeah. True. The opposite is true too. See, it reminds you that it's not like she can just pick up her cell phone and call and text Will and be like, hey, and this whole thing is like juxtaposed on the idea that the older brother was supposed to be watching him and he wasn't, because he was trying to make money for the family, and then the mom came home exhausted, assuming the brother had watched him, didn't know the brother was out, and so she just like collapsed or whatever from a long double shift or whatever. And then all of this could be solved like in present day. Like she would have been like, I haven't gotten a text from Will in a while, and I texted his brother, and like, so this is stuff but this is an 80s problem where
like she goes to like the landline. Like, who has a landline anymore?
Right.
Like nowadays, man. Yeah, exactly. You'd be able to just like text the kid and be like, hey, hon, make sure, are you gonna stay at like your friend's house tonight or something?
GPS his phone, or put that tracker thing on his phone, the whatever it's called,
air tags and
one
stuff
of those
like that in their
those
shoes.
like location settings that they have on Snapchat or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still would want to go back to a simpler time where everybody wasn't able to find you or locate you. That almost sounds like a serial killer mindset. So never mind. Never mind.
Disavow.
Retract.
Out of context, Nadia.
Some of this, this is for the entertainment purposes only. We do not want to go off the grid. Federal authorities.
Gonna hide your kids, hide your wife. They're climbing in your windows, snatching your Byers up.
I would say Winona Ryder looks great. Looks great for her age. I feel this was her comeback in a sense.
I was thinking the exact same thing. This is like one of her like defining roles.
For somebody that's been in the game since like her first movie came out, not too long after the timeline in this event. So she was in a 85 movie called Lucas, and that was her first big role, or her first role. So someone who's been doing it and been in the game this long, especially someone who's been smoking for 40 years. Yeah, she looks great.
Yeah, especially for she looks like an 80s mom.
Well, that might be part of it too. Just like all that smoking helps her contribute to like the like vibe of like Hawkins, Indiana in the 80s with like the smoker moms,
Yeah, it would have been weird if she didn't.
I wonder if they would have casted someone else.
Who else
I
would
wonder
they
if there
get?
was. I wonder if somebody else was in mind, or if Winona was who they were.
I think I saw an
thinking
interview with her and Harbor where the Duffer Brothers said they always wanted her for this role.
Okay.
So
That's good. That's good. All right, so the kids, so our 4 boys, or 3 boys at this point, are nerds. D&D was not a cool thing to be into nowadays. All of us would have had wedgies and swirlies and all of us, because we are all nerds in some fandom of one sort. Speaking of the biggest nerd, here's Gooch. But yeah, like we would not be popular kids. So they're obviously not popular in the 80s, right? They're being picked on by bullies. Dustin's being made to make this weird arm noise thing. So this must be a boy thing, because girls don't do this stuff. Like the weird, like, I can't even do it.
the armpit fart.
The armpit fart. Yeah. Is that just a dude thing? Like,
It's a part of like that whole like preteen boys like toilet humor that persisted all the way through like the 2000s. Okay. It's in the same vein of
junior high school.
Jokes.
It's before you're really getting into sports and girls and stuff. Junior high is a lot of can you make weird body stuff and stuff. And again, more good look great. Oh man, good screen capture here. More 80s. These girls look 80s to me. They're very
even in the
80s.
background.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But Barb and
Nancy
are so and again, kudos in very short order. Like when I saw Nancy, I was like, ugh, this is gonna be the female, like, because I don't like skinny girls, and especially like little wafy, like I don't like that. I had never seen her in anything else, and she wound up becoming my favorite and still is my favorite character on the show. So I mean, I was like, ugh. So
that's a hard take for me. I do not like her.
That's a bold one, but I like it.
Yeah.
As we go along, I'll explain my position.
She grows into her own much later. So like I see where you're going with this, and I get it. I like it.
Poor Barb. R.I.P. We'll talk.
R.I.P.
about
Barb. Hashtag
Barb.
justice for Barb. Justice for Barb.
I think the person that has gone through the most interesting arc is, where is he? We'll meet him here.
There we go.
Steve. Yeah.
Everybody loves
my
Steve.
favorite character right there.
Steve.
So close.
My husband's here going, Steve. The reason why Chris goes King Steve, because Chris started watching Stranger Things at season 2, because by then he had his redemption arc, not realizing the little shit he started out being.
He was always a hero.
He's not always a hero. So Steve is your typical like jock, right? Always
Pretty
just
boy.
Thinking about one thing.
Collar up, douchebag.
He's the playa.
Yeah, great hair. He's got money. Yeah, he's just big man on campus. High school is peak for Steve. Steve is this is the best he's ever gonna do, and he's gonna be homecoming and prom king. And I don't know if they allude to if he plays sports or not. I don't remember that being a thing, but that was a thing in the 80s. You didn't have to necessarily play sports. If you played sports, that was a good way to become popular in the 80s and 90s. But that's why I got into football in high school. But because I got tired of being a nerd and getting swirlied and things like that. So when I filled out, I started playing sports. But you could be a Steve. You could just be a popular preppy, they called him. You could be a preppy and be popular.
Well, he has some scenes in season 2 where he's playing basketball with the team, but they never go out of the way to say that he's like explicitly say that he's like the star of the team.
Right.
They just kind of say
right.
he's just kind of like Mr. Popular.
Yeah, they very wisely. Yeah, they very wisely do that, and they wind up using that arc for a different character that we'll get to later.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah, and by the way, Steve, best hair of the show.
Oh, best hair.
Oh yeah,
best hair. And he's one of those dudes that's gonna lose his hair in his like late 30s and 40s, and it's never
Oh,
gonna
don't
go
you put
back.
that curse? Don't you put that
No.
curse? on
It's
Don't
Steve.
do
never
it,
gonna
Nadia.
not the actor. I'm talking about the character.
I know.
Oh,
and now-
okay.
I know you're talking about the character, but now you got me scared for what's going to happen in season 5. Nadia,
Steve,
the greatest
Steve
loss-
shows up bald. He shows up. He's got thinning hair
He's gonna-
loss and stuff.
he's gonna fall on the upside down again. He's gonna lose his hair. We're gonna be like, Nadia, what have you done? Our baby
Nadia
boy.
cursed
I mean,
him.
that would be the stereotypical like track, right?
Mm.
To like.
I mean,
kids
I
in
had
high school-
gray hair in high school. I had a girl's compact that I carried in high school and used to check my hair, make sure my Zach Morris, Matt Damon hair was perfect back in the day. So yeah, I mean, and then
I was
gone
born
now.
with gray hair. I was
Yeah.
born with a couple strands of gray. I'm full gray right now. So
looks good on you.
I get
Looks
it.
good on you.
Thank you. What up, horror junkies? What up, AJ? Sorry, celebrity AJ. AJ was on Kill Tony recently.
What?
Oh my god,
yeah.
he's famous.
He's famous. He even got the big joke book. I'm so proud of him.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, so King
Yeah.
Steve is not a
King
king
Steve.
right now. All right, he was not a king in season 1. not in season
Nonetheless, the Steve propaganda will continue.
But didn't they call him Mama Steve or Mom Steve because he was like the mom or the babysitter?
Yeah,
for season
Yeah.
2.
it's season 2 that really starts.
That's right at the end of theirs where we get Papa Steve.
Papa Steve, yeah. So Will has been missing now for a whole night. Joyce can't find him anywhere, so shows up on Hopper's, I guess, door.
Office.
Hopper's, office. Asking to put in a missing persons report for her son. I mean, I will say she plays this role so well as the distraught mom. I don't feel like she's like, I don't know, like being fake about it. It feels very much so like to me, she's exactly how my mother would have acted. Just how distraught and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, hold on one second. Oh, you're late.
Am I though?
You are.
Am I
Hold
though?
on. Now
Where'd
I've
he
got to
go?
adjust. I got to adjust everything.
You
Hold
were
on.
late. Send him to the upside down.
I know.
Wouldn't it be
Sure.
cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you had a way to make his screen thing upside down? That'd be dope.
I think I might.
I could probably do that.
I bet
too.
there's a setting you can pull that
I
off
bet
on.
there is. Give me 1 second. Hi, Nick. How are you?
hanging in there, hanging in the upside down world of planet Earth.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Where am I?
I don't see him.
Still don't see him on my. On the
Oh, I
display.
see. Hold on. I'm
You see me?
doing the
but-
best. I'm
There he
doing the best
goes.
I can. I'll have
There we
that.
go.
Let me fix this a little bit. But yeah, welcome, Nick. Welcome to the Upside Down.
Yes. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. I don't know why this is. This
I
is
should make
You,
it-
you
Yeah,
have
when
you've caught the show at an awesome frame, right?
I know. Like,
Yes.
Let me do the
This would be
Winona
a great-
Ryder.
This would be a great thumbnail right here. It's like with
Oh
the
my
facial
god.
expression.
She said,
The,
"What?"
The channel's reporting on like Stranger Things season 5 news and like the titles and conspiracy theories and like what everyone thinks will happen would go dummy hard with this screenshot.
Yeah.
okay.
Put all clickbait
I-
with this image.
Mm-hmm.
I did the best I could. Okay.
Looks great. Looks perfect.
Yeah, it's golden.
I will say, when season 5 is announced, we'll figure out if we need to speed up how many episodes we're going to be covering, or if we're just going to finish
with all
off
the
what we are
delay-
and then overlap.
With all
So
the
we'll
delays,
see.
I think we could take our sweet time by time.
Yeah.
The kids are going to be in fucking like graduate school by time they get that next season out.
I mean, Millie Bobby Brown is now either at minimum engaged or married now. So
I think she's married.
definitely-
yeah,
I think she's
Yeah.
got married.
I couldn't remember which one, but yeah, you.
She's
That's how
Bon
long- it's been
Jovi.
9 years.
Millie
Yeah.
Bobby Brown Bon Jovi.
I think that looks better now with 4 of us. Let me fix it.
It's like there's like someone should be here on like the right side next to me.
I'm
Like,
fixing it. Hold
We
on. one
need
second.
we just need a blank account to serve as like.
Oh,
There we
go.
go.
Oh, perfect.
There we
Good
go.
job.
That looks
that
way
looks great.
cleaner.
Oh, it looks dope.
Yeah. All right. So, we're up to Will. Oh, Nick. How are you, Nick? Sorry, Nick.
I'm doing good.
Thank you for bringing the
Busy day.
shoulders. Thank you for bringing the shoulders today.
Yeah, I at least had to wear a tank top. It's been a
For being late, that's your penalty. You got to wear a
Yeah.
tank top.
yeah.
We are halfway through episode 1 of The Vanishing of Will Byers. I don't know if you have anything to say up until this point. We've gotten through the opening where Will was taken. We've met Hopper. We've met the other boys. We've met Nancy. We've met King Steve. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I hadn't watched this season since it came out. So, I mean, I really haven't watched any of the seasons until their initial release. So, it's kind of nice to kind of go through this in preparation for season 5, right? But I remember just how much I liked the introduction to all these characters, and like realized that, throughout this entire season, these kids are actually like really good actors. And I thought it was ironic too, because we got Finn Wolfhard in this show, and then you see him again in It Part 1. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's good enough to be in that too. So
He was great in that.
yeah, he really was. And I think
Yeah,
maybe
weird kid, though. Just
Huh?
I'm sorry. He's turned out to be a weird young adult. Just
yeah,
visually, he looks
Little bit, little bit.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was good though. It's good. It's a good pilot episode essentially.
I wonder if they knew they were going to do 5 seasons. If
I think that I think the Duffers are on record with saying that they'd always planned for 5 seasons.
okay.
Yeah, I remember them saying that they wanted to do multiple. I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 though, or whatever the number was. But
I think if it had came out now, it would not have made it past season 1. I think it would have gotten canceled.
think
I
so?
think oh yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
so.
Oh.
Big time. Yeah,
It
the way,
came out-
especially the way Netflix does stuff, they really
Mhm.
have, like, they've cut so many good shows like out at the knees and just left them hanging. It's crazy how many times Netflix
You
has
have
done
to-
that.
You have to look at the year. It's 2016. How many
Yep.
streaming services are there really out there at that time? I mean, nowadays we have what? Paramount,
I think
Peacock. It's up
maybe
at
3.
3, right? I don't even think
Maybe.
Disney Plus came
Well,
out 2016 because it
no.
was right.
No,
No.
Right
Disney
around the
Plus
pandemic.
didn't happen until like 2020.
I think it
Yeah.
was what Netflix, Hulu,
HBO.
yeah,
You wanna count
HBO,
that?
yeah.
Well, also keep in mind, like prior to this show, Netflix was basically like on the brink of just like completely just coming apart at the seams. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
no one thought that platform was going to like make it as like a like streaming version of a blockbuster past
Yeah.
2017, and then they decide we're going to commission and work on produce these like original Netflix series now, and it paid off. Like it saved their whole like platform and turned them
Yeah.
into what they are today.
One of their biggest shows is, which is no longer actually on the platform anymore, is Hemlock Grove, which is one of their first original series that they did.
It was a good show.
Yeah, and
Got it.
I
they
watched it.
young Bill Skarsgård in there.
Oh.
Very young Bill Skarsgård. Yeah, it's a great show. They took it off. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
removed it. But I think having the abundance that we do for the amount of shows and streaming services helps kill a lot of these shows after first seasons. And also the amount of money because they want the return in views. And if they don't hit it for the first season, out the door.
Sometimes even if it does, sometimes the young girl that was in Stephen King's It chapter 1, she did a great show a couple of years after this. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where she's like a superhero or like she has
Yeah.
super ability
She
powers.
has abilities, based on a graphic novel, and they yanked that, they yeeted that, and left it on a cliffhanger.
I mean, I definitely think it depends on the writing, right? Like, and obviously, like the story. I mean, because there are definitely some shows on Netflix that came out in the last few years that have, where Netflix has been pressured by other streaming platforms, and obviously, like just the feedback from and criticism that everyone kind of puts on them that are getting multiple seasons now. So I don't think it applies to every show on Netflix. Obviously, I definitely think it really depends on the ratings, right? Like, and like the viewers obviously is the key data statistic that depends on whether or not a show gets a second season or a third season. Like, Three Body Problem is another example where that's going to get multiple seasons, but was also a top 10, show for a while on Netflix. It got nominated for one of the best shows. It's based off a book, saga essentially. So it could get, 5 seasons potentially if they go through all 7 books.
Yeah.
But there again, I understand that depends on the views, not so much whether or not like it has any issues with like the formality of like the characters or so forth. Because there's a character in that is she's just not a good actress. Won't name her, but
you can name her. This is a safe space.
It's what's her face? Gonzalez. I can't think of her first name. Starts with an A, but
is she the one playing? Is she playing the lead character Augie?
Yeah,
the one.
Yeah, she's really annoying.
I did not like that character.
Well, to bring it back to Stranger Things, this show really lent itself to the binge model that Netflix likes to do. I don't think this would have worked episodic wise like Paramount Plus or HBO would do, where we had to wait, a week, water cooler style, wait a week. I think this show works really, really well. It's not even, it's almost like not like a show. It's like an 8-hour movie, just broken down. And so you can binge it and you don't feel lesser for it.
Remind me, did season 4 get split into 2 releases, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
But only the last 2 episodes were their own separate volume. However, both of those episodes were like one. I think 8 was like an hour and 30 minutes, and then episode 9 was like 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Almost 3 hours.
Yeah. It was a whole.
I think combined it was like 5 hours or something like that.
Yep.
Between those 2 episodes alone, which, we had like a huge watch party for both, which was amazing and super fun. With the group of people. I remember during part 1, a couple of us had some edibles, which just made a super fun time. Seeing Vecna and everything like that, and I was like, we're like, whoa. But anyway,
when you come out to here in Vegas, they actually have a Stranger Things like store pop-up thing that's down on the strip, and that's cool. Actually have like a full form Vecna that comes out of the wall that you can like take pictures out underneath and stuff, and like he's just like hanging out there. It's really creepy too. And you cool. Like have a little shop and stuff. Yeah. I was walking one day with my friends and I was like, oh, all right. Well, I took my nephew who's 2. He's like, I told my sister, I was like, he can have whatever he wants in this store. I'll buy him whatever he wants. And he wanted a little Vecna plushie. And my sister was so distraught about it. She was like, no. I was like, too bad. He gets what he wants. My like Stranger Things pops up to you. Facts. It's not a stranger when everybody knows about it, Vex. Heyo.
It's just my thing, yeah. I don't give myself the stranger by sitting on my hand.
Dustin are playing Mr. Clark's radio. Dustin pretends to be Australian. Interesting. You're just dropping out facts in the chat.
Just trying to do my part, boss. Trying to do my part.
So we're back to the lab, and they are now discovering the upside down, in a sense, portal or entryway to it. Very MK Ultra. Very MK Ultra, which is pretty cool. I think the reason why I initially didn't watch this show when it first came out was I think I got like partially here and I dipped out, and then everybody was talking about it, and then I went back and watched the whole season. I like the color and cinematography positions of the lab is like this dark, almost green, dingy, almost like a dirty aquarium lighting to it, versus when you get to the next scene where we meet 11 eventually, where it's bright and which will come into later plays where you see the difference between the upside down versus the real world too as well.
I also like, a lot of shows and movies will struggle with science fiction, like science stuff mixing with the supernatural. It doesn't always work, really well, because you're just like, well, if you had a 50 cal, you could have just blown that thing into pieces. But this makes it seem like, the monsters could take you by surprise, and they're super fast and strong, and so it doesn't matter really if you have a gun. You can still get taken down by it. So you need that supernatural, and 11 herself is like a mix of sci-fi, like did they create her and like, Firestarter style and like make her MK Ultra style telekinetic, or was she like born with the power? So they don't really tell you right off the bat. You don't really understand everything that's happening. And I like that. I like the show don't tell mystery to the show that it was then.
Yeah, because
Yep.
eventually you find out about her mom and stuff,
Mhm.
which we'll get to in later episodes. But yeah, I agree with you, Toxic. At first, when rewatching these first 2 episodes, you don't know if she maybe just came from the other side, or maybe she's a creature herself in disguise, or what's going on exactly with her.
Yeah.
So she is eventually we find out, but she has escaped from the facility, the government lab facility, and she stumbled across this little like diner place. And this poor guy, man, he just wanted to help a kid.
God, he's such a good guy. He's such a good guy, and I feel so bad for him.
It's such a brief role, but that one brief role did so much.
Yep.
I will say though, for somebody who has been kept in a lab most of her life, she has a darker tan than me.
I think that's dirt, though, isn't it? Isn't it?
No.
Aren't we supposed to believe that it's like dirt and debris and stuff?
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying her skin tone in general. It's darker than me.
I actually thought 11 was a boy when I first when
A lot of people did.
okay, so I was like because he's like, oh, you're actually a pretty little girl when you want to be when you smile or something like. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, it's a girl? Okay, cool.
Yeah, very 80s though, this scene too as well. Reminds me of a lot of 80s movies with like kids and stuff. Back to the high school, the kids are wondering what is going on with Will. What happened to Will? Maybe back then he could have been abducted, kidnapped.
Are they in high school or are they are these kids
Uh,
in junior high?
I think it's middle.
Junior-
Is it middle
junior
school?
high. Yeah.
Well, that's
Junior
what
high?
that's what junior high
Schoolers
is
at this point.
Yeah,
Middle schoolers. Okay, yeah. Okay.
that's junior.
Yeah.
That's junior high. So yeah.
Also,
Yep.
you want to talk underrated characters? Mr. Clark right here. This man is like actually like upon a rewatch is a really, really important and great character.
Yeah, I think he gets kind of thrown to the side a lot. Eventually down the line, which is
I don't
sad.
even think he showed up in season 4 at all.
I think because they replaced it with a character we'll eventually get to, our little Russian friend. I think that kind of took the embodiment of a lot of these side characters, maybe for the kids and stuff, or what they were planning on writing. Just my theory on it.
If there is any
episodes, he's great.
If there is any ongoing nitpicks, it's that, and I don't know a solution to this, but there is a lot of characters, and sometimes they struggle to give all of these characters enough time or something to do when they do have time. So, I'm guilty of that myself. I tend to write my novels with like a lot of characters. But it's just,
I'm really glad you bring it up because like for a long time I said that like Stranger Things, especially some of the later seasons, are probably one of the biggest offenders when it comes to like the Netflix plot line syndrome of just having like 3, 4, 5 plus different plot lines all kind of working independently of one another that don't really interact at all until the very end.
Yeah.
That is like one of the faults you can probably like slap this whole series on.
It's an ongoing problem, and it creeps up a little bit in season 1, goes heavier later into all of the seasons. As upon your rewatches, I think you'll see I'm right. Where sometimes because there's so many characters, they really struggle with giving everybody something to do and giving them stuff. I mean, the first season though, and especially the first part of the first season, I think, especially these couple episodes, I think everybody's firing on all cylinders, and they do a good job.
Well, there's almost a thriller aspect to it, right? Because of the whole human aspect of Will missing, just like a missing child case, reads very much like an 80s movie, where then you have the upside of it with the sci-fi case of like the lab, Eleven's abilities, and then you have this creature on the run, and who by the way, it's weird, only attracted by blood, very reference to Jaws too. R.I.P. Barb. But
Yikes.
even in this scene too, like very much it feels like this whole show is just taking place about a missing child. And these two play it up very well. very interesting a kid to have like a fort out in the middle of the forest.
Especially in the
Nowadays,
Midwest.
Yeah, because nowadays wouldn't do this shit.
No. I mean, never outside. What?
We used to do that. We had woods and like behind this old neighborhood, in between neighborhoods, that we used to play paintball in all the time and have like different forts that we would chill at during the day, like every weekend. So it's definitely like an old school thing to do, which is kind of cool to see. It just definitely brought back some good nostalgia of the good times when people actually used to touch grass a lot often.
Here's a stick. Go wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out on your bike. Come back at dinner.
I like this, Chris. It's the standard 80s commercial. Do you know where your children are tonight?
Yep, it's 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Do you know where your children are?
Children.
Yeah, the parents of the 80s had to be reminded, like, you know you have kids and you know where they are. I put that up because you mentioned Jaws, so it's actually... Yeah.
Thank you for... I'm going to rely on you for trivia from now on.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Zax, you're talking about this bad haircut, man. I actually was thinking about shaving my head like this. I think I could pull it off. We're back to 11 in the diner. This poor guy is about to get his head blown off. Talking about a missing kid. Thinking he's talking to like people that are actually going to help, and it shows how deep the deep state is.
Yeah, they really, and you know what? Even with as sophisticated as I like to think that I am with TV shows and movies and thrillers and stuff, when the Karen type character comes in, I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh wow, whoa, she's a hitman? Like, holy crap! Like that was like out of nowhere with that.
I think the implication was that they were just monitoring all the lines to try to figure out if someone reports this kid so they can go ground without.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Everybody's saying yes, we'll eventually get to Eddie, but I will say Vex has never seen Stranger Things, or maybe the first season or something. While she was doing our opener, she goes, "Am I really watching this motherfucker rip through demons with a guitar?" Like, I was like,
wait,
yes.
Vex, you've never seen this before?
I don't think Vex has seen Pat.
I think she gave up on it after season 1, is what we're to understand.
We're alluding to, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Right.
and you know what? That's a damn shame. You missed out on that's one of the hardest going scenes ever.
Yeah.
One of the best musical stings in a series ever.
Yeah, it's like if you could, categorize what it means to be metal, that would be one of the things that would be.
This
metal.
is what you think of.
Yes.
I can't remember. At this point, she's getting phone calls from Will, correct? Or
she got like
Phantom.
Yeah, she thought it was like a prank call, but like she can hear Will through the phone
cable.
cable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a supernatural element to her as well, though, because she has this. I mean, you can call it motherly instinct, you can call it women's intuition, but she really kind of latches on to the idea that something else is going on, that we sight unseen, and there's this other element, which is really frustrating in later seasons because she's always kind of right. She may come off as hysterical, but she's always kind of right in her things, and they kind of like give her the "not now, kiddo" thing later on. Now, obviously, in this first season, she's a distraught mom. She's upset. She's not sleeping. So, I mean, she does come off a little crazy. And I like Hopper's very analytical here. He takes the steps, even though it seems like frustrating because we know there's something else going on. He does exactly what a good cop would do. He's very, all of this stuff. I don't care for the 2 doofus deputies. I don't like that. That trope is really played out. Like I would have
say this guy behind Hopper looks like sketched.
No, both of these guys are.
Hey, wait a second.
I don't know. I don't mean doofus in the way they look. They're doofus, like they're kind of just like
the typical like
typical
deputy
Mayberry.
kind of,
like this is the best job they were going to get outside of like sanitation, and we were to find out later that Hopper's ex-military, and he's he is very, even though he's burnt out and depressed, he's very good at his job, and it shows in the things that he does. Like he starts coming up with really good clues right off the bat, and I like that. I like how it's done.
He has a great line. I don't know if it's in this episode or one of the later ones, but he says something along the lines of like, 99 out of 100 times these
It's
kids
this
go
one.
missing.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
with like a parent or something, and Joyce is just them like,
So
what about the other
10?
one? What
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
the other
what about the
one?
one?
And
Yeah,
she's
Yep.
just nailing into them with
they
that.
use that for they use that for all the promos for the show before the show was coming out.
Yeah.
That was the big promo clip that they used.
Mhm.
Vex, by the way, you've only seen season 1 and 2. Season 1's my favorite, but season 4 is a second contender for me. I really enjoyed season 4. I don't think 2 and 3 are bad. 2 is actually a continuing story of 1. It's like the repercussions of what happened in 1 play out
Agreed.
in 2.
Agreed.
3 is a little bit on its own. Again, I don't think it's horrible, but it's very divided in the fan base. But 4, man, 4, I think I had, even though I like 1 better, 4, I think I had the most fun with. 4, because
Yes.
each character are in their own. They know what's happening. They communicate with each other.
Yeah.
In 4, they're kind of split off into groups, but like the fact that Hopper like just picks up like this like thing to beat a Demogorgon, like, all right, here we go. We know what's happening. Like they've come into their own. So Vex, man, you're missing out, man. You're missing out.
Nah.
You know what? We should tell Vex, don't watch it. We're gonna don't watch it. That'll get her to watch it. Don't watch it, Vex. Leave it alone. I don't want you to watch it. I want you to stay.
Ooh,
season 1 and
100
season
Vecna
2.
curses upon you, Vex. And by the way, Vex, if you're a monster girl, Vecna, my girl.
Yeah,
might-
Vex
yeah.
might pleasure herself to Vecna.
Yeah, Vecna might outtake Count Orlok for you, my girl. I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Season 2 was the worst of all of them. Interesting. All right, Rachel.
I'll-
Yeah, I've never heard that.
actually-
I've never heard that take before.
I
think
actually
3
think I
was
have
the
to kind of
weakest.
agree that just with my rate, the way my rating's like, season 2 ends up at the bottom of my list. Not to say like I think it's even the worst of Stranger Things is better than a lot of shows' best.
No, I don't find that monster bone worthy. Season 2 had emo lesbian 11 in the van down by the river. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll get to Callie.
We'll get
We'll
to it.
get to
We'll
it.
believe that. We will get to it.
Wait,
Yeah,
here's
don't
your
worry.
point, Toxic, of him just like walking around looking for clues, finding out things, just being a detective in a sense.
Yeah.
Because she also, there's a line earlier that she says, like, you understand your kid too. Like, you would know in a sense. So she brings
Yeah.
it in personally. You could see it.
Yeah.
And then you also see the aftermath of like all these parents kind of locking down on their kids, which not really locking down because these two end up disappearing at night anyway.
Yeah.
My mom would beat my ass. I'm not in
But-
my bed or my room. She would beat my ass.
The one I also like the kind of class the class struggle between the two. So like the
Yeah.
Wheelers are a well-to-do upper middle class mom and dad family type thing. They've got nice stuff. They've got a basement. They've got, you know, the good mom. By the way, the mom I had a super huge crush on when I was a kid. She was in a movie called Gladiator, not Gladiator that you guys know, but a boxing movie called Gladiator. And I had a super huge crush. When she showed up in this, I was like, oh my God, whoa, I can't believe she's the mom, which automatically made me feel old watching it. But yeah, I like this whole, you got the snotty little brother that's being gross, and you know the older sister's not having it. I kind of do without the doofus dad. He's just like the same like cartoon cutout character all 4 seasons, and I don't really care for that, but
Yeah,
whatever.
Really, this season is where like Mike is at like his best. I feel like
Yes, agreed.
At some point, in especially starting in season 2, the way the direction his character goes just doesn't quite
Agreed.
gel.
Agreed. Yeah.
I also like the chemistry between these two as siblings. It comes off as actually they're siblings.
Mhm.
Yeah,
very
they kind of
natural.
look alike in this first season too, a little bit. You know, yeah.
Remember the sausage and pepperoni theory I had?
What's the
Trying to forget it.
the comparison that she looks like she's the female version of Timothy Chalamet, like
Yes.
facial structure and
Yes.
everything.
Yes, I
And-
have heard that. I've heard that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
See,
if you watch a side by side picture, I'm like, it's in because they both have long hair, like right. So
Yeah.
it's like, where's the difference?
See, I thought I always kind of compared her to being like what's the name of the main character in Labyrinth?
No,
The
not
sister.
Jennifer
No,
Connelly.
just like the way like her character's hair and makeup works. Like she kind of
Oh.
gives me this. She has like the same kind of like aesthetics going on.
Okay.
I can see that. Kind of like the girl next door, kind
Yes.
of
Yeah.
in her own head, kind of
Exactly.
spacey, kind of daydreamy kind of girl. Okay. I also like that the boys all have walkie-talkies.
Yes, me and my friends all had walkie-talkies and would call each other.
My sisters and I had them, but in different rooms of the house. But yeah, so they're all concerned about Will, and King Steve comes looking for his prize.
The Steve propaganda continues, baby. Let's go.
The King Steve. Oh, Nick, did you pull up that picture? Okay, hold on.
did.
Okay, hold on.
It's it was in an article, but
Oh my god, the chins.
tell me that does not look like they're like twins
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the same tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like their ears might be a little bit different, but
The nose structure is similar.
yeah,
The
be like-
chin.
The
the mouth?
ears.
eyes, mouth. Maybe Timothy's eyes look a little bit.
Tim's a little bit more slanted.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they're like his head's tilted like down just a little bit more, but not slightly.
Both.
But
Big ass foreheads.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's a pretty girl. I still think she's a very pretty girl.
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
she's pretty.
Yeah.
She's just too skinny. I don't like skinny girls in general. So
Oh, toxic is a chubby chaser.
yikes! I don't know how that makes me a chubby chaser just because I like a chick with curves. Why do we have to go to one extreme to another? But whatever.
Just putting put a little meat on the bones.
Our man likes his barbs, okay?
Barb could get it. Yeah, Barb. It's always them quiet, nerdy ones that have the yeah. I would have dated Barb in high school. Yeah, for sure.
Barb looks like she would have carried a lot of Lisa Frank around with her. A lot of Lisa Frank.
Barb. Yeah, Barb would have worked at a coffee shop for sure. Yeah, she would have
Yeah.
had a lot of
Oh.
poetry. A lot of this chick, man. This got me. Did this surprise anybody, or did y'all see this coming? I did not see this.
No,
coming.
this surprised me. I really thought this chick was like there to. I really
Right.
did. I was very naive to the deep state when I first watched this.
And see, that's the funny thing because
Okay.
I'm not. I've worked for the deep state, and I
Whoa.
didn't see her coming. Yes, I'm ex-government. Stuff like
So
that.
tell us all about the MK Ultra experiments that you've seen.
You want me to derail the stream with that? You don't want that, do you?
No,
Okay.
no. Backstage. We don't want to put a target on your back. Backstage.
Yes,
Jana, it's okay, excused. But Jana, I have a gift for you.
Jana
on.
Banana.
There you are.
God. This is definitely gonna get you monetized, right? This is gonna escalate the viewers for sure.
And at least escalate my female audience.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
some of the
I'm
males
catching
too.
I'm catching up
Maybe
to
some-
Gooch in my female audience, so
Nice.
move on over, Gooch. Just kidding.
But yes, I was very surprised by this chick. I was like, oh, come in to help. And no, it just comes to put a bullet in the dude's head.
And the way that they edit it, and then the way that they show the scene, and then they show these, you really start to be concerned for the boys. Be careful with how much you're showing.
I know.
Because then now you see this horrific thing happen, and then you've got the three boys, these three innocent kids, riding around on their bikes just trying to find their friend, and just like, dude, this is bad. This is a bad situation.
It's interesting because the series takes such a serious tone with stuff like this. And as the audience, it's a serious tone, and these kids are they just think their friend just kind of like ran off.
Yeah.
Not realizing like the government is out to get you.
Well, it's this weird juxtaposition of the kids having like this goony adventure, but the bad guys are not the Fratellis. The bad guys are freaking Day of the Jackal. You know what I mean? Like it's like this mismatch of like these are not the nice FBI agents from ET. These are the guys that are gonna shoot a random restaurant owner
Cook,
just because he stumbled upon one of their assets.
It's very much a D&D adventure because D&D parties, we're all airheads, and then we're going up against these like serious crime boss monster cultists, entities, gods. So like it's very much a D&D adventure. The kids are the party itself, and everybody around them is like the NPCs and who the monsters and the individuals that they run into. So my D&D nerdumness is coming.
Thank you, Zach.
So yeah, this poor dude gets a bullet in the head. 11 eventually runs off. These two, oh boy, the sausage and Nancy.
We found the subtitle for the next stream.
Nick, just to catch you up, I was watching some like theory videos and doing some research, and someone said there's a line in the beginning of this episode where Dustin goes to Nancy asking if she would like either sausage or pepperoni pizza, the sausage or pepperoni pizza and pepperoni, and it's supposed to represent sausage being losing her virginity, which would be Steve, and pepperoni meaning keeping her virginity and just hanging out with her friend Barb. So she's now hanging out with the sausage.
Yeah. Did you guys like Steve in season 1?
Yeah.
No.
I did not.
By the end,
I was a Steve supporter from the get go.
I became a Steve supporter when he he cleans off the graffiti.
I was about to say, I feel like that's kind of like for a lot of people. There's that moment later in the season where it starts to turn around for people. I'm like, okay, even if that didn't happen, I'd be like, okay, this character there's a lot you can do with this character in this setup.
My husband refuses. He refuses to watch season 1. He only knows season 2. Steve, he refuses. He will not. He's like, I will not tarnish the idea of King Steve.
He might like him better because who doesn't like a good character arc?
Yeah, it's not that I don't like his arc in general, because I definitely like him in seasons 2, 3, and 4. It was just in season 1 here, I didn't like his character until like the end, hoping that going into season 2, he would start to flourish more, which he did. But like in these earlier like first half of the season, I'm like, nah, Steve, thumbs down.
First half of the season, sure, he's very douchebag, a la Pretty in Pink, and those kind of movies. He's that guy. He's very punchable face, and but you also have to remember that they do things to make you like him. He gets the shit kicked out of him every single season.
Yeah,
I mean.
Meanwhile, you're thinking he's going to be like the kind of character who like is going to get chomped by a Demogorgon.
Yeah.
His adventures in babysitting, very much so in the next season. Yep. Yeah, very much a reference to that movie too, as they go through, which is the opposite of what Jonathan is, right? Jonathan is very much this introvert, like takes photos into photography, doesn't stand up for himself. No. And he's going through it right now because he thinks it's mostly his fault that his younger brother is missing too. And then also, by the way, he doesn't believe his mom at first. So not only does he have a missing brother, he also has a mother who's going through a complete breakdown that he thinks is like losing it. Yeah. And to your point earlier, Toxic, of her having like abilities or women's intuition or something, maybe that's something because that's how Will has it, right? Maybe there's some kind of thing going on in their family.
Yeah, I'm not willing to tinfoil. I'm not willing to push that.
Tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I'm not willing to push that much, saying that she's got supernatural abilities. But I mean, she's definitely like in touch with her empathic side, where she if she feels something, she's willing to go with it, even if it means like ignoring insane. And I think that really only a mom can do that. I think that women are blessed with this sort. It's how they always know when we're looking at them. It's how you guys always know when we're you guys almost always catch us cheating. You always know when we've done something. You guys have this. You're kind of switched on to this kind of otherworldly thing where and especially moms, especially good moms, you know, she's very tied into her son. I love that they take a moment and flash back to her, like while she's searching for him at the treehouse thingy or the clubhouse thing. They go back to better times when she got the tickets to, I guess, maybe Return of the Jedi or something. I don't remember. And she sees him out there. That's she's a real, even though she's working all the time, she's a real loving mom. And you know, that's why it gets so frustrating in later seasons when she gets these kind of intuitions or these theories. And like everybody kind of gives her the "not now, kiddo" thing, which drives me bananas. Like I hate that with that show because she's already. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, finish. Sorry.
It's like because she proves herself. She proves herself in this season. I get that they would be skeptical here, but then later when they know that there's supernatural sci-fi shit going on in this town, later when there's other stuff and Joyce is like, hey, I think yada yada yada, and they kind of just like, okay, give her the "not now, kiddo" thing, and I hate that. It's like, dude, she's already established that she knows what's going on, and you know, she kind of sees this stuff. She's really like, I guess maybe she was probably a young hippie flower child in the 60s, 70s, whatever. And she's kind of tied into that. Yeah, she's a cashier now, but and a single mom, but she probably, you know, maybe dropped some acid and things like that. So she kind of has that whole mentality of like, yeah, I could get it. You know, maybe
we're not in From, okay, Lord. We're not in From, okay. I agree with you. It's not so much she has the abilities, but it also makes me wonder if that with her intuition or her abilities, not abilities, but stuff, kind of leads into Will in the later seasons because Will, or maybe Will is just having an after fact of being in the Upside Down.
It's possible.
Richard, thank you so much for popping in the chat. I see your fun fact. Winona Ryder didn't even know what streaming was when she was hired to play Joyce Byers in Stranger Things. And her only condition to play Joyce in Stranger Things was to have a break to film Beetlejuice sequel with Tim Burton, which sucked, in my opinion. Sorry for anybody who did like it.
Yes, it did.
And I love the first one. So this episode ends with the boys finding 11 in the woods.
Or her finding them.
One of the two. That poor kid, probably cold. So that is the disappearance of Will Byers. Byers.
You got it.
Should I watch Stranger Things? I heard it's a great things about the show. No. Yes, you should watch it. Mm-hmm. It's very good. Watch it, and then come to our streams every Friday. We're going to be covering 2 episodes. We're covering episode 1 and 2 of season 1. Next week will be 3 and 4. So watch it with us and join us in the chat. Nadia says, sucked again. Yes, sucked.
She said,
Jana.
say it again.
Jana.
And now we have it isolated. It will be soundboarded.
All right. I'll pull up episode 2, but Sketch, as a pilot episode, what did you think?
As far as like a pilot episode 1 goes, excellent setup, I think. Giving right out the gate, like I said, I think that the cold open in the lab is an excellent starting point to give us a sense of what the big mystery is gonna be. I love all the 80s nostalgia just to help set the tone. We get a clear sense of like who each of our main characters is and what they're all about. All in all, I think just very well-rounded, good introduction to a series. Like this is probably like a very like good template for like if you want to do a show that has like a large cast like this is how you should do it.
I agree. Toxic.
I think it's one of the best pilots that's ever been made. You know, they could have I'd be hard pressed to find a better pilot. Maybe Firefly, maybe. And I like that this show already knew what it was in the first season, and it shows in the first couple episodes and stuff. It got me to put on those couple. Oh no, you don't like Firefly. Oh no, that's sad. Oh, well, I gotta go. Thanks for having me, I guess. I don't know what to say about that. Why? Oh, well, you know what? I don't want to. We'll talk backstage, and I can find out why. But yeah, I think it's great. If it's 1 out of 10, I would definitely give it a 9 out of 10 for everything. Editing, Story wise, soundtrack, awesome. That opening soundtrack, it's still I think it's one of the best. So I'm so glad they've never changed it. I'm so glad they still have that iconic synth wave Stranger Things thingy on all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah. Really solid pilot episode. I think I would give it probably an 8.5. I don't really have a lot of complaints about it. I think it does a great job again, like, introducing people to the introducing us to the characters, or introducing us to the characters. I can't talk right now. I'm Gucci knees, damn it. But yeah, just I'm trying to look at my notes over here too. I think between just, again, like, establishing them what the plot is, right, with the characters, what's at stake, with having an entirely different dimension, with the upside down. The boys are fascinated with it. One of the boys goes missing, right, with Will, and there's this D&D type search that is fantasy based but pulls everyone in, and hits on like the very nerd aspects of the show, and like what those of us who have played D&D, or at least know about D&D, can really delve into. So yeah, I mean, I think just again with the cinematography, the lighting, just like the sets, everything about this show in general does a pretty good job through and through. But yeah, I think it's definitely a very, very solid pilot episode.
I pretty much agree with all 3 of you. I think this episode as a pilot doesn't drag its feet, which I like. We're introduced to a lot of characters, and that can be overwhelming, but it flows very well from scene to scene. There's almost a realistic approach to the sci-fi aspects of it. So it really does feel like maybe there is a government conspiracy of experiments being done. And I also like the fact that eventually we really don't know what the upside down is. We don't know if it's an alien form. We don't know where it comes from, right? And granted, there's a lot of D&D references in it. I like that it kind of keeps the mystery alive, not knowing. So we're going into episode 2 of it, titled The Weirdo on Maple Street. Lucas, Mike, and Dustin try to talk to the girl they found in the woods. Meanwhile, Hopper questions the anxious Joyce about an unsettling phone call. I think we also get our Christmas lights in this as well. Yes. So let me bring that back up. Perfect. All right. So it opens up with the boys and 11 in the basement, Will's basement. That sounds really bad. Found this kid instead of their actual friend. So I think this episode actually kind of to me, episode 1 and 2 is a almost complete arc, almost like a mini arc of the story to get the series started. Sometimes episodes 2 lack a little bit. It takes like a dip in quality because you've already have the characters established in episode 1, but I don't think so in here. I think we've hit I think we're on our way out. So the boys have found her, and she doesn't really speak. Maybe a couple of words they eventually find out, but she doesn't really talk. And this was really cute. I was watching this when she tries to take her shirt off, and they're all like, no.
Yeah.
Being boys that they are, because they're young boys thinking cooties and stuff. They're like, no, privacy, please go to the bathroom over there. And I also like in this where she doesn't want the door closed. She thinks maybe she's going to be trapped into it with her experience both in the lab and such, having that PTSD. Any thoughts?
No, that's good.
Yeah. No? Okay. All right. Keep going.
Continuation where they left off.
Yeah, I'll agree as far as like mystery stories go. Like, yes, the first episode is going to be super important to establish the characters. I think the second episode is arguably just as important, if not more, because that's like your follow through on like how are your characters going to hold up, and I'll just like you pointed out, like how are you going to start rolling the story out for everyone with the mystery.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you were going to say something?
No, it's a good, this whole scene here, as they're trying to figure things out, but also like try to know more about this character, right? Like what's your name? What do they call you? Like, just, it's a good perspective on like just kids being kids, And I feel like that sometimes that is hard to do from an adult's perspective. Like, how do you write as a kid, right? I mean, you can imagine what you might say, but there again, I think there's plenty of writers that don't know how to write well as like for kids dialogue. But I think the was it the Duffer brothers, right? Duffer brothers? I've heard
Duffer Brothers, yeah.
Duffers, yeah.
Butters, yeah.
They do a fantastic job.
I agree.
With
Great
writing
point.
dialogue, and it just made sense. I'm watching this again. I'm like, yeah, no, I probably would have said the same damn thing as a kid. Trying to,
Yep.
Imagine myself in their shoes, and what do you do? Like, you found some kid, like, you tell your mom or your parents and figure out like, wow, this is weird because we found this poor girl. Well, one of our best friends went missing. So it's like this weird, switcherooski here that is only going to make things more complicated, right, in their minds. So it's like, how do they, proceed forward with their own little plan that doesn't include the adults yet? Eventually it obviously does, but it's just a great continuation from where episode 1 leaves off.
I agree. And by the way, I just want to make a correction. I said Will's house. It's actually Mike's house. Will's the one disappeared. Mike is Finn.
Yeah, we knew
And
you.
then-
I knew what you meant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, for the audience. Also, I want to point out, Richard in this asked if we were doing any reaction videos to Stranger Things for both YouTube. No. However, that gives me a great idea that maybe for season 5 we'll do watch parties in my Discord, because I can get away from there. So
I would be down for that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I will
so
100% would be up for that. Or
maybe
it's
we'll
like-
do an episode, 2 episodes. We'll watch party, and then we'll talk about it on a Friday. So we'll figure it out. We'll do it. We'll do a slumber party. A slumber
Slumber
party.
party.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 episodes. These are going to be like
Pajama
90s.
party? Just kidding.
Pajama
We're-
parties.
Everyone in your jammies.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna wear a onesie.
There you go.
I have one. I
I'm
have an
gonna-
in and
I'm
out
gonna-
one.
I will
I'm gonna
find
get
a
me and my
onesie
girlfriend
just to
matching
wear for
onesies
that.
just for the occasion.
Yeah.
I do like this where the kids are like, Lucas is like, we got to tell your mom, dude. We got to tell your mom we found this chick. They're like, why? We tell your mom that we were outside, and your mom's going to tell your mom, and then we're all going to be in trouble. Well, they don't
Yeah.
actually realize that they actually have a missing child, in a sense, a missing child, right? They found this girl in the woods. The correct course of action would be to involve an adult in this.
Yeah.
But they decide not to. So.
Well, the correct action would be to do that if this was a normal situation.
Yes,
Is that what you
but
mean?
they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know if this kid has. We don't know of Eleven's abilities yet. They don't know of Eleven's abilities yet. They don't know there's a secret government, deep state thing going on around Hawkins. So in a sense, this is just a child they found in the woods. So at this point in the story, they should get an adult involved.
Well, that ends up being like Mike's plan originally, is to have 11 go knock on the door
Right.
and have
Right.
his mom answer it, but she refuses because I think we do get to see 11 use her powers very briefly in episode 1 in what's the diner guy's name? She uses it in the diner, I think, once, and that's what prompts him to like call the authorities.
Yeah. Jam session, burn a CD mix, and then we'll play D&D 2. Why not?
Dope.
Why
Down.
not? But it's gotta be 5e. I'm sorry. It's gotta be 5e. It's gotta be easy for everybody. Don't look at me like that, Nick. I saw that.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
We'll make do with what we have. I'll get the one shot. Hold on.
This I don't smoke cigarettes, but this scene definitely made me want to smoke cigarettes. Very much. What? Back then you probably around this time you're still smoking on the plane too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Mhm. Yeah.
Smoking
I
in
wasn't even
Pizza
born
Hut.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut. You could smoke in
Mhm.
restaurants and
Mhm.
sit in the smoking section. Yeah, it was bad. Everybody smoked. It was horrible. It was horrible back then.
Restaurants.
Horrible or delightful, depending on who you ask.
Well, I'm not a smoker. I'm like the only one in my family that doesn't. I think it's disgusting, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's the one thing that we've managed to kind of, shame.
Casinos still. There's some casinos here that you can still smoke in. That
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
walk in and
Yeah.
you could not be around somebody who smells, but you can smell it because of
Yeah.
it's just in the fabrics.
Well, overseas they still do it everywhere. Like when I arrived in Kuwait, like I was like shocked. I was like, dude, everybody's smoking everywhere. It's crazy.
Smoke in the hospital after you gave birth, smoke on an oxygen and by a gas pump. Yeah.
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 Yes. Now listen, we may have gotten smoking phased out successfully, but all these Gen Z kids and their vapes now. I don't know if we've made an improvement. Actually, I think we might need to go back.
I would actually probably take cigarettes over these vapes nowadays. With
It's
that,
probably somehow healthier.
yeah.
Ironically,
to quote the Bread Boys, the shit that I smoke is real. It comes from the ground. The shit you smoke came from a lab somewhere in China.
Yep. So Joyce is losing her mind over this. She's getting phone calls. She thinks Will is calling her, which is interesting that there's a connection between the Upside Down and Hawkins. Like throughout the series, you find that not only through phone calls, but through the wall and different scenarios. So it's very interesting.
Without going on a tangent, just real quickly, there is a companion comic book to this, which is specifically written from Will's point of view. So all of these things and it matches up perfectly. The Duffer Brothers had a big hand in it, and it matches perfectly with. Do you mean hold on? You want me to shut up for a second, or
no? Keep going.
Okay.
I'm looking.
It matches up perfectly with the events that you see. So you see his little escapade to get to the telephone. You see the whole thing where he can communicate with Joyce, how he's staying alive, and how he's managing to I mean, he's just as lost in a lot of ways because he doesn't understand why the town looks the way it is, and he doesn't understand how come he can't affect things and whatever. But once he starts to communicate with Joyce, you see that whole so it's pretty interesting little. I think it's like a series 1-5 comic or something that just covers all of season 1.
The omnibus for it is on sale for $16.99 on Amazon. It is 43% off.
Oh,
for paperback.
Nice.
So for anybody who's interested,
what was it called?
It's just if you look up Stranger Things comics, it'll come up. It's called The Other
it's a
Side.
companion. Yeah, it's a companion piece which shows you basically Will's. I mean, they do a little bit of the narrative that's going on in the show, but I mean, it's a companion piece to the show, so you'll get to see what Will is doing during this time, and fleshes out his story and more info about the Upside Down.
Funny you should bring up this comment, Richard. Hopper's actor David Harbour married British singer Lily Ann, and he is the stepfather of her 2 daughters from her first marriage, who she recently honeypotted and found out that David Harbour was on a dating site. As David Harbour, by the way, like he wasn't hiding it, but she honeypotted her own husband and found that he was cheating on her on a like Tinder, whatever dating site, and it says he uses his own name, everything. So, yeah, that was just recently in the news for it. So, that's David Harbour for you.
Well, David Harbour's.
That's men with options for you. That's the top 1% that has money and fame and options that do that. So,
I mean, he's another case of separate the art from the artist. Do we all remember him getting up for that award where he's shouting about punching people in the face and Winona Ryder's just in the back just making faces? Yeah, we all know about him.
He's
David Harbour.
A little bit of a comedy, but
he's outside of Hopper. For acting, in other projects I've seen, he wasn't really great Hellboy. He's in the Thunderbolts and he was in Black Widow.
The fact that he plays what's his face, Red Guardian, right?
Yeah.
Who is Russian, and he kind of has some Russian-esque views, politically speaking, is somehow kind of fitting.
The irony.
Yeah, ironically, I was like, I wonder if that's why he also agreed to kind of select that role, but I digress. He is good in Harper as Hopper, and I think it's interesting. When you watch anything in general, and you like an actor or an actress, and then you kind of hear stuff outside of what they're doing for work, and you're like, it's hard to differentiate and separate. Like the Mark Hamill is a perfect example, right? Not to derail everything, but
Julia Garner is the same way. So I absolutely
Yeah.
adore her in Ozarks. She's phenomenal. I think she's
Yeah.
got one of the best character arcs.
Agreed.
Everything
Good
I've
show.
seen outside of Ozarks, she is by far one of the worst actresses I've ever seen.
Yeah, what was that show on Netflix with her? She was like
Where
it was like based on a true story. She
True
faked.
story. Yeah.
Oh, God,
Horrible.
what was her face? Anna.
It's
something
something.
like that?
She was like a
Inventing
con artist.
Anna? Is it
Inventing
Inventing
Anna,
Anna?
yeah.
She was like a con artist for say,
Yes.
Yeah.
horrible.
Mhm.
Ozarks,
yeah.
phenomenal. Like I love her in it. She's great.
Yeah, that's gonna be her Sarah Michelle Gellar role. Like that's all she's ever gonna
Yep.
do, and like she's not gonna really do anything else.
Well, you want to talk about?
No,
you wanna
she
hit one.
is your Silver Surfer, my guys.
That's true.
Remember,
Okay, only do
God.
one thing of quality, and like I'm not saying they won't keep putting her in stuff. They still put SMG and stuff, but
Yeah.
like that's
Oh,
it.
talk
That's her
about that.
peak role, and she's not gonna surpass that.
Well, just to throw one more name on here, who I think encapsulates all this perfectly, probably worse than Mark Hamill, even because like Mark Hamill can disappear into a role. Like he can still voice act, you'll never know he's there. But like
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston, that's one of
yeah.
them. That's another one.
yeah.
Like,
There's
Social
quite a few
media
of them.
ruined the celebrity. We found out too much stuff about them. I will say for David Harbour, he is both. He does good voice acting. He is in one of the most horrible voice acting thing this year in cartoon for Marvel as Red Guardian, and he's in one of the best as his Frankenstein on DC's Creature Commandos is amazing. He's one of my favorite characters on that. So good.
Night Vex. Have a good night. Thank you for
Bye,
being
Vex.
here. Thank you for the opener again, too, Vex.
bye
That
back.
slapped, man. I watched that a couple of times this week. So
Yeah. Bye,
thank you
Vex.
so much.
Sugar still sucks.
I liked Sugar.
Heyo.
We'll have to talk about that on another stream. Yeah. Okay. So we're establishing a relationship between Mike and 11 here slowly, right? Surely, but slowly, because Mike seems to be the leader of this group.
Yeah.
And he's trying to convince her to go in the morning upstairs, ring the doorbell, tell my mom you need help. We're also establishing egos in this episode as well.
Yeah.
Which is a big ding.
Weird. Yeah. Weird thing with Egos.
Was Egos popular? So I was born in '87, so I'm a '90s kid.
Yeah.
Was Egos like a popular
Big
food
time.
item for kids?
Oh, yeah.
back
Big
then?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was easy because you could just pop it in the toaster.
Mhm. They
So-
were
Hi, Dieter. Thank you so much.
Egos were popular even like as far as like the
Lego My
2000s
Eggo.
when I was growing up. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like-
Lego
You've
My Eggo
never-
stuck around the whole time.
Chana, you've never had an Eggo?
You
Oh,
haven't
man.
lived.
What?
You haven't lived,
Anna.
my lady.
You can make them into s'mores too.
You can do so much with them.
They're so versatile. Like
I can't
you
have
had a
them right now.
pop-
I'm on
or, like,
carnivore.
or Pop Tarts.
I can't
Hey,
have
don't pick a
either.
carnivore for an Eggo though. I won't say they're not.
I'm not. No,
Not
that's
worth
not
breaking.
worth it.
Pop
Not
Tarts
worth
was
it.
like mid and late '80s more. Egos.
Pop Tarts were like the
early 80s.
like successor almost to Eggo, but they follows the
Yeah.
same concept. You pop into the toaster, you take
Yeah.
it with you on the school bus.
Yeah, when you started having those two income, the mom and dad both worked. They started having to have
Mhm.
food become processed and easily accessible.
Or
By the way,
like-
can I mention that I've never liked Matthew Modine until this show. I've always thought he was a terrible actor, horrible in Full Metal Jacket. I wish they'd have gotten somebody else. Just never thought he was a great actor. Really annoyed, but him playing the sinister, MK Ultra military scientist advisor guy, he really knocks it out of the park in this. He made a believer out of me with this role.
Yeah.
Don't Google the blue ones. Blue
Oh,
what?
God, no. Don't
don't-
look at don't
do it.
don't give it the time of day, Nadia. Back to
Don't do
Brenner.
it,
Look
Nadia.
at
Yeah,
Brenner.
ignore.
Okay.
Disavow.
Okay.
Disavow.
Toaster strudel is
Uh-huh.
another one I was going to throw out there.
Oh,
Toaster
strudel's
Yeah.
really good.
That's
Those are
Toaster
really good.
Strudel's 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toaster
Yes.
Strudel's
All this
90s.
sugary shit that should not be breakfast items. Like you should be
Mhm.
having protein and like
Yeah.
healthy greens for breakfast.
Mm.
But no,
Yeah, that's,
let's give our kids a hop
FDA
up
in
on
America,
sugar.
you know?
Well,
Yeah.
listen, no, like these are all the foods that like you would pop in if you were like an athlete and you had to be at like morning practice at 5 a.m. and your mom or dad couldn't get up in time to make a breakfast for you, it's like I gotta be at the field or something. Boop.
When I'd have my like 7 a.m. hockey games, I would definitely have like a Pop-Tart or a toaster strudel, like something like that. We would just take it and go, and I would eat in the car.
Yeah,
Like,
you just needed like some like small amounts of like carbs and calories to get you through the practice with a hint of sugar.
Yep.
You would worry about like the protein after the practice.
I had Pop-Tarts as a kid occasionally, but we mostly had hummus sandwiches at the door. So I'm Middle Eastern, dude. Like
I didn't know that.
And tomatoes, yeah.
Oh man, I'm no more Iraq stories from me. I'm not gonna. Sorry about that.
I'm Jordanian and Palestinian. That's my dad. I'm first generation here.
Okay.
Yep. I know. I look so white. You would not believe it. I get it. I get it all the time. No release date yet for season 5. I know. Hopefully, should be. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around the summertime. It's usually around the summertime that these are dropped.
Yeah.
So, all right. Oh, we got Doofus and Doofus 2.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Amos and Andy here.
Your cosplay is right there, my guy.
You know, when if we do live reactions to season 5, I'll buy the outfit. How about that? Okay.
You just need the shirt and the hat. That's all.
For the record, there's nothing wrong with the way the guy looks.
No.
Okay, he looks fine.
No.
They play him as very stupid. Look at that hair. Look at Steve's hair, man. Good for it. There's some Aquanet up in that bitch for sure.
L'Oreal helped him out there.
Yes.
Richard is just dropping the facts in the chat. Thank you, my friend.
Did I not say Matthew Modine? What did I say?
You did.
Oh, okay.
I'm just backing it up. No one believes me either. Jana, it's okay. I've not seen movies and you have not tried breakfast pastries. It's okay. We're both the same, Jana. We're both the same. I get it. Yep. Here's Barb too. R.I.P. Barb. R.I.P. Barb.
R.I.P. Barb.
Yeah.
These look like freaking high school kids too.
They do. That's what I love about
sometimes
this.
When they cast people a little too old to play, they try really hard. Like, I know in the later seasons it's a little rougher around the edges, and I don't know how season 5 is going to look, but they all look like they're high school kids.
Well, if they do a time jump, it should be fine. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, you're right. Like all these kids, no one's like super beautiful. You know, I mean, even like the pretty girl, she's kind of plain Jane. And, you know, none of the guys are super duper studs. Now that changes a little bit with Billy in season 2. But I mean, I don't know.
He's Billy.
He's Billy.
That's all because he's Billy.
I gotta listen. I'd be one of those moms in that.
Yikes.
Oh no!
Yikes!
All right.
Yikes!
Everyone, hey, the kid's legal. Kid's legal. Okay.
Listen, by the time that scene happens, he's graduated high school. It's we're in the clear. In the clear.
Okay.
Hi, Sherry. Hello. Welcome. Oh, see, every time I say Sherry, my phone thinks I'm talking to Siri.
Oh.
I don't want to say the name, so it lights up. So Will is. I like this.
You mean Mike?
Mike. Mike, why do I confuse? Because they look alike.
It's okay.
It's the same fucking bowl haircut.
They're both moppet-haired, femboy, type,
80s kids.
80s
Is this
kids.
what you look like? Toxic?
They're preteens.
I did have a bowl. I had quite the bowl haircut. Yeah, when I was young, I was not until high school, and I moved in with my dad. Did I? Yeah, but when I was a little. I was chunky. I would have been closer to what's his name? Darren. What's his name with the missing teeth? I'd have been
Dustin.
more
Dustin.
Darren. I'd have been more of a Dustin at that age. Doing weird shit and speech impediment, things like that.
Confirm. Nadia has an apple. One step. Oh. This is the scene also I was talking about earlier where it kind of alludes to Will's sexuality that comes out later in the series, where he comes off as not a masculine boy, which is okay. In a sense, this is Jonathan telling him, like, you don't have to do things dad wants you to do. You don't have to go like baseball. You can like the things you want to like. It's okay. Alluding to earlier in the first episode where they called him a slur, or refer to him as a sir. So I think it's interesting that we are getting these context clues now. So I wonder if the Duffer brothers always expected Will to be gay in this series.
I don't know.
But I like this. This is a very touching moment. As an older sibling, I like this because you have these conversations with your siblings. If you're an eldest, you understand. Especially if you're it's an age gap that big between the two of them. I also like this scene where she goes to her job and she's like, I need this phone and 2 weeks of answer and a pack of camels.
And a pack of camels.
My kid is missing, damn it. Like, I need all of this stuff. So I like this too as well. Because it almost feels like she's kind of taking advantage, but at the same time, like, what's she gonna do? I mean, she doesn't have any money. She needs to replace her phone, and because she thinks she's communicating with her own son, and she needs money to survive while she's trying to find her son.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great scene. Great scene.
Great acting from her. I think this is the first movie I really started to like her acting, and I've been watching her. You know, she and I are pretty close in the same age, and I've been watching her in movies for over 30 something years, and this is the first one that I was like, wow, man, Winona's really killing it.
Yeah, this is like a, what do you call it? Like a resurge, I feel like, for her in terms of popularity.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the actor, the NPC that plays off as her boss, does so well here too as well. I mean, it's a small town, right? We don't have these small towns. They're very far in between nowadays. I would love to live in a town like this where everybody knows each other.
I live in a town like this. Yeah, I live in a town like this now. Yeah, I grew up in the city in West Palm, but now I live in Leavenworth, Kansas, and that's this town. That is this town.
I need to find a town like that that's in dry climate. That's what I need to find. I need that's just this town, dry climate for my autoimmune issues, and I'll be golden because I hate living in the city. I hate living near a city. I like the idea that you should know who your neighbors are. You should know in time of like crisis, you should be able to depend on each other. Like when I grew up, my neighbors, we would play with kids, like played with each other, and parents would look out for the whole group. It wasn't just you looking out just for your one kid. So yeah, it's sad. It's almost like it's disappearing slowly.
A little bit.
And then we get back to the MK Ultra dudes looking for 11, which is interesting because they knock on this guy's door and nobody's home, and they're like, "Oh, it's clear," and they're just searching around random. Like, do you not notice like 4 dudes in like full suits just hanging around the town, walking around in vans? Like, it's creepy. Just a little bit. Just my theory. This is a great shot.
Yeah, well, we get it later on in the season that the vans in question are disguised as like electricity company vans.
Yeah. The deep state. Listen, government, don't come after me. All right. I have nothing to offer. All right. Okay. I'm sure I'll get a little bit more crazier tomorrow on my X-Files stream.
Entertainment purposes only for any government listening in.
Yeah, entertainment purposes only, FBI.
No, this is open writing advice for the Duffers. Listen, if you want to really hit home your deep state themes in this show, season 5 will feature robotic birds, okay, surveilling the gates.
Birds aren't real. Sketch.
Birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real.
They're going to be dropping Enron eggs on everyone for support during these times of need.
I like how he put her in the closet and she's having PTSD flashbacks of being locked away in the lab. You know what? Her storyline throughout this series is very heartbreaking. There are times where I'm almost brought to tears because this is a child, and there's nobody that in this environment that has sympathy for her or is loving towards her as a child. Yeah. Rachel, have a good night. Thank you so much for joining.
Rachel.
We'll be back next
Rachel.
Friday. Yeah. That's why it's interesting, the theory of that the Demogorgon is her fear and anger and almost abandonment issues. Parent having conversation with Mike about Will missing and stuff. These parents, man, so over the head. for a lot of this season. Like,
Mhm.
you don't notice your kids missing. You don't like.
I feel like, well, I mean, I was born in '85, so I mean, I wasn't out and about really a lot to like the early mid to late '90s, right? So, I feel like monitoring your kids' whereabouts was probably a little bit more well known. But I know, like, when I hear stories from like my parents growing up, I mean, it was just like, all right, well, dinner's at this time. You know when to be back, or you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get grounded, maybe spanked, beaten. I don't know. Like, parents back then, that was the thing to do, right? But depending on how you grew up, of course. But
When the street light came on, you had to be home.
yeah, pretty much. But I mean,
It wasn't until the next year in '84 when Adam Walsh was kidnapped and then later found dead that they started getting really serious about the kids
Yeah.
being out and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
I never got to experience that stuff. I have an Arab father, so we never got to stay out late. And if we did, it was behind my dad's back. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. So, especially as a teenage girl, did a lot of shady things behind my dad's back. All three of me and my sisters. Sorry again, Dad. But when you're that strict, listen, when you are that strict, like extreme strict, like boys weren't even allowed to call my house. If a boy called my house, I was in deep shit. When you're that extreme with things, your kids tend to rebel very extremely, in my opinion. But yeah, late nights didn't happen. Existing with a Persian dad. Jana gets what's up. Yep, did not happen. So, the continuance. I think the most important. I love this shot too. When it comes back around on the other side, they're looking for this poor kid, thinking maybe he shows up, and eventually he does. I believe the fake body does show up here, right? In the
think it's
not
the
in the
next
quarry. I don't think it's in the quarry. I think it's in the lake, if I
Is it in
recall
the lake?
correctly.
Okay.
I think it's the lake, not the quarry.
Quarry's another
And-
one of those like locations that they don't really bring back after this season, I think.
So in '84, they started airing that commercial. Oh, do you know where your children are at night?
Yeah.
Jana wasn't even allowed to talk to her future husband on the phone while laying down. So yes, Jana gets it. Maybe they didn't bring it back, Sketch, because they moved on to a bigger budget, bigger set design, and decided it just didn't fit anymore.
Yeah, that's
With
probably it.
This poor dude again, and none of us know his name. R.I.P.
Remember.
Diner dude.
I feel bad now. I'm looking it up.
I'm
is-
so glad you got the caption here. That is so good. Good job, Nadia. This idiot
I
suicide.
did it on purpose.
Yeah, he shot himself in the forehead. Then
I
and
mean,
then,
No. Okay.
and then the gun. And where's the gun? There's no gun.
The diner owner's name is Benny, by the way.
Benny.
Oh well, Benny's Diner. Oh,
Poor R.I.P.
Poor
Benny.
Press F
R.I.P.
to pay respects to Benny.
Benny. Pour one out for Benny, my poppy. Very. All right, moving on. So they find Benny's body. It's interesting. Pretty much the first half of this whole season is just surrounded on Will's disappearance, and it reads almost like a true crime novella kind of deal, almost like a R.L. Stein Fear Street, maybe vibes a little bit.
Yeah, R.L. Stein kind of R-rated,
Yeah.
Because like I said, there is serious threats. It's not just kid stuff. Like there's a serious element of danger. These kids are in like real bad danger.
That's why it's more like the Fear Street series that he writes, because that's a little bit more for older teens.
Yeah,
A little
okay.
more. Yeah. Dad's a piece of shit, man. Doesn't even care his son's missing. But that, again, could allude to the fact that Will's gay. Dad knows. And back then, it was not accepted as much as it is now. Not so. And this dude looks like he's a douchebag. Doesn't look like he would accept his gay son, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
and he doesn't really come back. And by the way, this looks like Nick, this looks like you 20 years later. I'm sorry, because the gray beard.
Anna, how do you feel about that comment?
I have a gray beard.
I'm waiting for Jana to.
It's also the nose.
The nose. He's a bigger. Number one, the guy's like a fucking pit. Like a toothpick. My fucking calf muscles are bigger than his.
Listen, I gotta give you a little bit of shit for being like. Okay.
I gave you.
God.
That's it,
Remind her not to show up to Nadia's streams late because she will drag your ass.
Yeah.
Roasted. No, see, we're just finding the obscure background characters we're all going to dress up for the season 5 review. You know,
I don't know what
we got to make sure everyone has one. No
I'll
one
get
can be
really
left.
strung out, and I'll just not sleep for like 48 hours straight. I'll drink a lot of whiskey, and just act like a complete dick.
And not have arms at all, because look at
There
these
you
tiny
go.
little chicken
Yeah,
wings.
I'll like try to wear like the most like inconspicuous, like just try to like put my camera in a little bit, like shrink my camera a little bit.
Lonnie is the worst. He only wanted to come back to Joyce and Jonathan for the insurance money. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
This
yeah,
guy-
yeah.
He doesn't really I don't think we see much of him past this couple episodes
No.
in this season.
I think
Yeah.
he shows up like twice after this.
Nick would have to stop working out.
I can't do that. It's like stopping like breathing for me.
Might
Might as
go
well
to the-
die at that point.
Hmm.
I'm going to the gym after this stream. That's my plan. After the
Good.
stream, I'm
Good
going
for
to the
you.
gym.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, Nadia.
Yeah, I figured nobody will be there.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the best.
Yeah.
I love late night gym sessions. Honestly,
Hopper still looking, interviewing people, asking. He's getting pretty close. Again, sketchy right or toxic, one of you two, right? Of where he's treating it analytically, where he's just investigating, and even
I
so,
always like that. I love when movies or TV shows take a investigator and they apply logic to things that are illogical, you know, like Fallen or Lord of Illusions, like those kind of movies or whatever, you know, it happens to be. That's why X-Files is so good, because you have this system where, you know, they utilize, I mean, I guess you could say that Mulder's a believer and Scully, but again, you have the Scully character applying, you know, science and rationale into this kind of world, and because you'll still get the right answers. It's just he has to at some point during this, I don't know which episode exactly happens, he has to kind of open his mind to other possibilities. So
Well, I think it's
And
that
then it's-
during that one little scene there where he's talking to the guy and he hears the word that like there was like that Benny had like a kid with him in the bag. He's like, "What kid? What kid?"
mm-hmm.
Like that's where
Like-
the dots start to like form like an image for him.
yeah,
Or this he was just kind of like starting from like zero.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. And then season 4, he goes full hog. Like, whatever, man. Whatever. Angels
Season
could be
4
falling from the
Hoppers.
sky. Yeah.
Season
go.
4 Hopper said peace was never an option.
Yeah. No adults, just us and some meatloaf. Yeah. These kids, man. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's get to the best part of this episode, which is R.I.P. Barb. Barb, and so while the investigation is going on throughout this episode, while the kids are still looking for their best friend, dealing with 11, Nancy has invited Barb to go with her over to King Steve's house for a party. And this is where Nancy gets the sausage.
It's also where we kind of see the clique thing going on. You know, Steve is big man on campus. He's got this certain kind of friends. Up to this point, Nancy's kind of, you know, she's a good student, hangs with Barb, you know, they're doing those kind of, and she's kind of breaking away in order to become that, you know, cool girl type persona a little bit, or at least tries to.
Barb even says that like Steve has his reputation of just like getting these girls to get with them, and like she just says that like Steve is, or Nancy's next on Steve's hit list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like a stereotypical like jock kind of mindset
Yeah.
from the 80s movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopper having some reflection with some booty call. That was the. I was like, when I saw the scene again, I was like, oh, I forgot. All right, Hopper. Why not? Why not?
I mean, his love life don't stop, just because of a missing kid,
Kid.
Yeah.
11 tells the kids, like, in a sense, giving the boys a clue to where Will might be. And it's interesting too that she's able to point out Will as well, having never met him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So did they just like see each other and passing by as she was, but she was in the lab, she wasn't in the Upside Down, so she must
Well,
have a psychic connection to
Yeah, I think it's established that she doesn't just have the telekinetic power; she has like a psychic. She has. They start to allude to that here, and she has she has psychic abilities in addition to telekinetic abilities. So she's a double threat in that way.
Yeah. All right, and then typical teenagers chugging beer.
Yep.
Shotgun it.
Shotgun it.
And Nancy, I like this scene too because Nancy's really trying to fit in with Steve and his friends, and Barb's being kind of like the Debbie Downer, right? She's trying to play it straight, and Nancy's like, lighten up, Barb.
Yeah. A more sophisticated, it would have been like, you get one of your dudes to, take one for the team and jump on the grenade. Just be like,
It'd be toxic.
Yeah, I would. He'd be like, toxic, come on, man. I'm trying to score with Nancy. Go jump on Barb. I'd be like, all right, bet. I got it.
Save the gingers, man. Save the gingers. And Jonathan being a little peeping Tom.
Peeping Tom, yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of gives the ick a little bit. This is a little difficult to justify.
That's funny because there were so many like articles, I think, because a while back when season 4 was going on, the Duffers were being accused of editing. Hey, Boosh, yay!
Yeah, Boosh is out again.
But,
stay alive, dude. Stay alive.
Staying alive.
Nice.
But no, the Duffers were being asked if they were like editing or like George Lucas saying in their own words past episodes, and this was one of the scenes in particular that got brought up. It's like, did you guys like shorten this or something? And like people were trying to go back and see if like they'd like taken stuff out to make it not as long or as like creepy looking.
I mean, it's creepy enough in and of itself, if we're being honest. But I mean, it was a different time. This is the '80s. You could boombox outside of your ex's, window, and it was considered romantic. So,
Also, just like keep in mind, like he didn't stumble upon there. He just kind of accidentally stumbled upon the party. He was out there looking for like evidence for where his brother went because he doesn't think his mom's capable.
Yeah, no, I know. But it's like, it's giving stalker vibes.
That's true.
Oh, for sure.
He obviously has a thing for Nancy. You can kind of tell with it. It's not just a we've known each other since we were little kind of vibe. It's a I've got a crush on you vibe. Girls can tell. Well, actually, no, because she can't fucking read a room to save her life. So, and poor Joyce.
You stop being mean to my Nancy.
I don't like Nancy. I think she's one of the worst characters, really, to be honest.
You let me know when I want to plead my case for Nancy. You tell me when it's time, and I'll plead a good case.
That's fine. I mean, she does have a character arc throughout. It's just I felt after season 2, they didn't know where to go with her, so they were just trying to fit her into boxes, and it just didn't work. So when we get there,
interesting.
Hard disagree.
We can cross, but same thing with Jonathan. I think Jonathan starts off great character arc throughout this season, and I think they kind of just don't know what to do with them.
That I agree. I do agree with that one. I agree with that.
Afterwards,
I'd say they didn't try, at least for like season 2 and 3, but
yeah. So Joyce keeps getting phone calls, and I think somebody in the chat asked earlier if we're getting the Christmas lights in this. I believe we do start to. I think she starts to realize she needs to put them up or do something, because I think she starts to hear like the radio, and there's like other things that start to go off.
Yeah,
which is really cool. After this
song.
season, I went. Yes, we do. After the season, I went to a pop-up that had it, like the whole design of the wall, which was really cool.
Well, I mean that
That's
wall
cool.
is like an iconic piece of imagery from this show at this point.
Yep.
Very well
And-
known.
Okay. I think I can show her in a bra. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
that's,
absolutely
the,
can.
that's the best. Hold on. I need to take a snippet of that for Zach's for his circle jerks thumbnails. There we go. If he wants to use it. I don't know, because technically she's a teenage girl in this.
Be careful with this one.
Yeah.
I think she was of age at this time.
She's the actress of age, but the character is a teenage girl. She's losing her virginity in this episode.
Oh,
Well,
this
her
is
best.
not a good look for Jonathan. It does not look good there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, Barb is earlier in the Chug scene, she tries to fit in. She tries to do doesn't try. Like Nancy pressures her. And see, Zach says, "Please do." I got you, bro. I got you. Your thumbnail. Nadia is getting creepy. I am low spec. I am a creep. She gets a cut on her hand, and then the blood drips into the pool. It's similar to what I was saying earlier with Jaws, where this thing is like
They got their inspiration for that from Jaws.
And you actually do see the Demigorgon in this. There's a quick. I'm going to skip through the
Like 6
making out.
frames.
Yeah. Am I gonna? Did I get it? I don't think so. Hold on.
That's Jonathan behind the.
I think we see it. Hold on.
and
Hold on.
I think this is where you start to hear it.
Give me a second so I don't get in trouble.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna kill the vibe. I'm actually not a big fan of the Demigorgon in this particular scene. This is one of those weird moments of like they did something with them that seems like they ended up dropping a little bit later because it kind of just teleports into existence and takes Barb without like.
Good point.
Because it seemed like they were trying to set that it could like hop between the dimensions like on a whim, right? But
yeah,
never again does it really like.
Well, so no, are you
that.
you're discounting what we learn in season 4, or
with season 4 kind of like in knowledge of like how like that one works, like because it even though it's trapped there, like it doesn't seem to have any interest in leaving. I don't know if that's like supposed to be like due to its connection to the hive mind being severed, and now it's just an animal.
Yeah,
I'm not 100%
that's why I think
sure.
this one is separate and connected to just 11. I think this one is. That's why I think maybe there's a change in the rules and the lore. I think this one is just special in its sense because I really do think it's a manifestation of 11's like fear and pain and such.
But also just in general, like the Demigorgons being able to just like break through the dimensions, that does come up as like a thing that they're supposed to regularly be doing throughout this whole season. And I get the impression like after this season alone, they start to drop that aspect of them a lot too.
Yeah.
But even
I
just
agree,
here, like he just kind of instant transmissions in, grabs Barb and disappears again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe they were more focused on the other type of villainous kind of creatures that they were trying to allude to or eventually get to, such as like the big dude in season 3. Is it season 3, the mall? I think so.
The mind
yes.
flayer's his proxy body, the spider.
The
monster.
Mind
Flayer.
Yeah, which
That's season
in
3.
D&D lore is quite different.
Yeah, it
Quite
is.
different. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. And you can.
The bottom line here is I feel like maybe it's the editing on this one. Maybe it's early writing, not knowing exactly what you want your monster's capabilities to encompass. Just this one little abduction just doesn't quite stick the landing for me.
Yeah. And then the rest of this episode is just Nancy and Steve getting it on. So that is episode 2 of Stranger Things season 1. Good night, Jana. Thank you.
Hi, Jan.
Hi, Jana.
Sketch. Episode 2. Thoughts?
Great follow-up episode. Great starting to connect the dots and give us some more with the 11 getting more of her powers. like more getting to see more of like Nancy getting a little more of a spotlight, especially now with the Justice for Barb. She'll be getting a little bit more development from that. My final thoughts on that on the Demogorgon have been made clear, but that's probably like the only time it's gonna come up. So nitpicking perhaps, but still a great episode.
Okay. Toxic.
Yeah, agreed. Another solid episode, great follow-up. The dread kind of builds. We get more character development of the boys. The boys' personalities really shine in this one. You know, you figure out really quickly who is what character in the thing, and we get a couple more ancillary characters pop up, which will help out the story. Hashtag Justice for Barb. Maybe a little creepy looking back on it with Jonathan. Maybe that's my only gripe, but other than that, good solid episode. 9 out of 10.
Nick. Sorry for your doppelganger. Thoughts?
Yikes.
I'm gonna tank this episode just because of that comment. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm so sorry.
A great follow-up. Here with the second episode. Again, a great continuation with the continuation with the boys and 11, and just trying to connect things like simple words like I think they say like bad at one point, just learning that she has powers, seeing the desperation come from Joyce, and just the way Winona Ryder does well at her acting in this role and in this episode starting, and it kind of just continues throughout season 1 here as she like frantically tries to search for Will, with like the lights flickering is just like the start of it, right? Because you think that she's on to something, but just even kind of seeing more mystery about the cover up with the Hawkins lab, obviously like the weird parts between Jonathan and Nancy and Steve and just all of them, RIP Barb as well. I like the moments that just continue to pull people in. Or I remember again, like just watching this initially and feeling connected, like kind of brings you back to those times, especially for those of us that grew up in a similar time frame, although like just a decade or so different than the show would have taken place. But all in all, just a great establishment here with episode 2. I'd probably give this a I don't know if I won't give it a 9, because there are a couple episodes in this season that I think are like very solid 9s, if not a little bit higher. But I'll give this maybe an 8.7.
Right on.
It's fair. It's fair.
I mirror all of your statements on this. I really like this series. And again, I think episode 2 is a great follow-up to the pilot. I think it keeps the momentum going. You have the story of Will being missing, the thriller aspects, and then you have the sci-fi horror aspect of the deep state, this creature on the run, RIP Barb. You have the human aspects of the relationships between Joyce, her son Jonathan, and missing Will. And then you have the boys with 11 trying to figure out that while trying to find their friend. So all in all, I think it's a solid episode to continue the series. I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sketch, what do you got going on next?
Okay, since we're on the topic of Demogorgons, I adore the Demogorgon for its sound design, and in the coming weeks, I'll be doing a little mini sound design exercise with some other creatures of another series called the Monster Hunters. And we'll be redesigning every single mainline monster from that franchise in the lead up to the new game Monster Hunter Wilds coming out in February.
My husband is very excited for that game. He's a big Monster Hunters nerd.
Love me some good creature sounds, and Demogorgon is definitely at the top of that list somewhere.
Very cool. Sketch's link is in the chat. Please go subscribe to him. If you catch this at a later time, everybody's links will be in the description as well. Again, everybody on this panel is a fantastic content creator. Please go check them out. Toxic, you have a book and
I
things
do.
going on. I'm going to drop your link in the chat. What's going on next?
I'm finishing the second in the trilogy for my James McCulley series so that I can delve into more supernatural type stuff, which I'm excited to do. And tomorrow you can find me on Blue Collar Losers channel. He and I will be doing a just out of the theater review of Den of Thieves 2.
And do you have your link for your book I can drop in the chat?
Sure. Let me get that. I'll put it in the private chat.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That works. And then while you're doing that, what am I doing? Hold on. Remove. Nick, what do you have going on? And I'm going to drop your link. Where are we at in subscriptions, Nick?
Let us find out, actually. 174.
Nice. Okay, we're getting there. Let's get him to 200, guys. Come on. If you're watching this now, you're not subscribed to him. His link is in the chat or in the description. Let's get Nick to 200 by the time we get back here next Friday. But what do you got going on next?
Yeah, I've got a lot of content I am working on, and I had to make myself a schedule as to everything that I'm going to be covering for the remainder of this month, moving into February. And I am also going to be, I'm working on my upcoming stream that I will be launching in February, most likely. And so stay tuned for more information on that. I'll be promoting it on every live stream I'm obviously a part on. But as far as other streams that you can find me on Gooch's channel, Diabolical Souls, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about Primal Season 2 from Gendy Tartakovsky, and talking about Kaiju number 8, the anime, Season 1 on Thursdays.
Very cool. Very cool. I dropped also Toxic's link to his book in the chat too. Please go check that out as well. I'll add it to the description as well.
You can get it on Amazon. It's also on Kindle. If you would like a personalized signed copy, and I would add you to my thank you list in the next book, or maybe even take your name and make it a character of one of the next 2 books, you can hit me up and I will I'll send you out if you're stateside. I can't do anything for you overseas, but if you're stateside, I'll send you a signed copy with a preview of the next book.
Very cool. Very cool. As for myself, I will be back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about X-Files Season 1, Episode 1 and 2. I am doing my first watch through of the series. I've never seen it before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is just me talking about X-Files over a cup of coffee. So please join me if you'd like to. I'll be back here on this channel. Until next time, please. Oh, and I'm also on Nietz tomorrow talking about Prey, but nobody wants to talk about Prey. I just want to hang out with Niet. That being said, tune back in next Friday. We'll be talking about Season 1, Episode 3 and 4 of Stranger Things. And until next time, everybody, stay spooky.